Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. Would the committee secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Bacchus.
Present.
Brown May.
Here.
Carter.
Present.
Dickman.
Here.
Gallant. Gurr.
Here.
Karras.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Wen.
Here.
Urick.
Here.
Chair Watts.
And I am here. Thank you. We do have a quorum. Please mark Assemblymember Gallant present as she arrives. Members, we have a hefty agenda before us today. We are going to be hearing 5 bills, and we also have 3 bills up for work session. Just so that we have a clear lay of the land for everybody, my plan is to conduct the work session first, and then we will go through the bills in the order listed on our agenda. A few housekeeping items before we get started. If you plan to speak, please do sign in at the table in the back. Provide our committee staff with a business card if you have one. If you are providing public comment or testimony today, please be sure to turn the microphone on before you speak, state your name for the record every time before you speak, and turn the microphone off once you've finished. That helps us keep our minutes accurate and minimize background noise. Please silence any electronic devices that you have. I know that we've got a packed room here in Carson City. Members will be looking at additional materials on their laptops, so please don't take that as a sign of disrespect. And also, we aim to and have up to this point maintained a respectful environment where we can disagree, but will not tolerate personal attacks or anything that violates the decorum of this committee. So, last item, if you would like to provide public comment, which will be at the end of today's meeting, or testimony on a bill via phone, the number to dial today is 888-475-4499, and when prompted, provide the meeting ID 8430863993, and then press pound. You can find that information on our committee agendas, which are also posted on the Nevada Legislature's website. So we'll begin our business today with our work session, and I will turn it over to our policy analyst, Ms. Latham, to walk us through this document.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Keely Latham, Policy Analyst with the Legislative Council Bureau. A reminder that as nonpartisan staff, I cannot advocate for or against any measure that this committee will consider. On the work session today is Assembly Bill 449, which revises provisions governing public utilities. The bill is sponsored by Assemblymember Gurr and was heard in this committee on April 1st. Assembly Bill 449 revises provisions requiring the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada, or the PUCN, to adopt regulations providing for simplified procedures or methodologies for rate changes for certain public utilities. There's one amendment proposed by Assemblymember Gurr and the PUCN to replace the term charges with fees and replace the specific charges listed and instead require the regulations adopted by the PUCN provide for the filing of letters of advice to change based on a nationally recognized inflation index approved by the PUCN, including rates and fees as allowed by the PUCN. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any questions on AB 449? Seeing none, I would accept a motion to amend and do pass AB 449.
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Carter. I have a second from Assemblymember Gurr. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries, and I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Gurr. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to Assembly Bill 530.
Keely Latham with LCB for the record. Assembly Bill 530 revises provisions relating to the imposition by certain counties of additional taxes on fuels for motor vehicles. The bill is sponsored by the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure and was heard on April 3rd. Assembly Bill 530 revises the implementation of certain annual fuel tax increases in a county whose population is 700,000 or more. An amendment was proposed by the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada, which revises the end date for which no further action is required by the board to effectuate the annual increase from March 31st, 2026 to December 31st, 2026, and revises the start of the period for which 2/3 of the board must have approved adoption of an ordinance by December 31st, 2026 to effectuate the annual increase from April 1st, 2027 to January 1st, 2027. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions on this? Okay, seeing none at this time, I would accept a motion to amend and do pass Assembly
So
Bill
moved.
530. I have a motion from Vice Chair Carter. I'll take the second from Assemblymember Nguyen. Any discussion on the motion? Yes, I think we have a few. We'll start with Assemblymember Dickman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I still have issues with the fact that the vote of the people is being taken away, but I will vote yes to get this bill out of committee and reserve my right to change on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Assemblymember Gallant. Okay, we've got a ditto. Appreciate that. Any other discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. I will handle the floor statement for that measure. And finally, we will move on to Assembly Joint Resolution number 13.
Keely Latham with LCB for the record. Assembly Joint Resolution 13 urges the federal government to maintain the moratorium on the testing of explosive nuclear weapons. This bill is sponsored by the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections and was heard in this committee on April 3rd. Assemblymember Dahlia proposed the attached conceptual amendment, which replaces the resolution's existing text in full. In summary, the amendment provides additional historical context, examples of potential outcomes, and arguments against resuming nuclear weapons testing. Also removes the clause related to maintaining the moratorium specifically at the Nevada National Security Site and expands the list of federal officials to whom the resolution should be sent. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any questions on this item? All right, seeing none, I would accept a motion to amend and do pass HAR 13.
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Carter. Do I have a second? I'll take the second from Assemblymember Karas. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Dahlia. Okay, thank you very much, members. That concludes our work session. Now we will begin our bill hearings for the day. And we are going to start with Assembly Bill 452. So I will now open the hearing on AB 452, which revises provisions relating to public utilities. Welcome Assemblymember Brown May and team to the table. Whenever you're ready, please introduce yourself for the record. You can begin.
Which one is it? Public utility. Ooh, this is something. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, members of the committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present this measure today. For the record, my name is Tracy Brown May, and I am proud to represent Nevada Assembly District 42. We are here today to present this bill for your consideration. The bill language has been reworked and is in the form of an amendment. You should all have the document. AB 452 conceptual amendment dated 4/1/2025. You all should have this, yes? This is what we're going to work off of today. So why does this matter? And why are we here? Nevadans are seeing high, unpredictable utility bills even as they conserve energy. As someone who hears from struggling families and seniors, a big part of my assembly district, I have seen how devastating some of those bills can be. This bill here today, Assembly Bill 452, is about protecting customers from energy price spikes that they don't have any control over. Where we are currently, the public utility passes 100% of the fuel and power cost volatility on to ratepayers, and customers really don't have a say into how these costs come to them, yet they bear the entire financial burden. And so the utility has no financial stake in reducing or managing those costs. Respecting that Nevada Energy is a public utility and has private shareholders, we must ensure that they are able to be sustainable. We also need to consider the ability of ratepayers and that they should have influence over or input in the development of those rates. So this measure for us is about fairness and accountability. Volatility in the market is the enemy of affordability. And it's important that we have collaboration in the cost of the market. So we need a partnership and risk with the utility. And they should have incentive to manage fuel and power costs responsibly with consideration of volatility and the effects on our customers. In response to stakeholder input, as this measure was being crafted, the bill now directs the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada, or the PUCN, to open an investigatory docket. This ensures a transparent and inclusive process with input from various stakeholders, including the utility, NV Energy, which is a partner, as well as the Bureau of Consumer Protection, consumer groups, conservation organizations, business voices, everyday consumers, everyday Nevadans. The Commission will design a cost-sharing mechanism if it finds that it is in the public interest to do so. Additionally, the measure that we're considering extends timelines for general rate cases and integrated resource plans to ensure a deeper, more thorough review, and then adds a refund protection provision. If the utility overcharges customers, then it must refund the full amount with interest. For us, this is a consumer protection bill. It's about fairness, transparency, and aligning the utilities' incentives with the public good. I'm a ratepayer, you are ratepayers, and I'm proud to represent my constituents and the many folks who have concerns about the costs of their utilities. We also want to ensure the sustainability of the utility as it is a public function. I have two amazing people on my team today that are going to help to present the rest of this measure, Rebecca Wagner and Christy Cabrera-Georgeson. And so for now, with your permission, Chair, I will turn it over to Ms. Wagner to walk us through the bill. She's our subject matter expert.
Careful what you say. Good morning, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, members of the committee. My name is Rebecca Wagner. I am a former PUC commissioner. I've been away from the commission for nearly a decade, served on the commission for nearly a decade, but I am here today as a policy expert and actually kind of like a PUC whisperer, if you will, having survived that world for a really long time. And I loved every minute of it until I didn't. So what we have here today is kind of a little switch out on Section 1. We had the great intentions of coming forward with a prescriptive bill that could just fast track this and jumpstart this concept of fuel cost sharing quickly without a rulemaking, and really get to the heart of the matter so that we can find some relief for customers. Best laid plans went awry, and as I delved into this policy more and more, I explored how other states are doing it. I talked to commissions in other states and discovered that this is really complicated, most likely above my pay grade, but certainly a policy worth exploring. So Section 1 just does that. It asks the commission to open an investigatory docket, or more than one if necessary, and starts first with examining how the utility manages its fuel and purchase power costs and how those costs are passed through to customers. There's also a portion of this that the utility does earn interest on balances in its balancing account. And is that an appropriate function in this day and age? We don't know. We want the commission to explore that. And really, this gets down to identifying opportunities to mitigate customer rate impacts from unusual events or price spikes. So we've already seen, we've witnessed that with weather events in Texas affecting the western United States. Geopolitical events can influence the price of natural gas. And because Nevada, we rely on natural gas substantially for our power production, it does make its way directly to customers as a one-for-one pass-through. So the key component of fuel cost sharing really is to align the financial incentives of the utility with the interests of the utility's customers. And then, as the bill notes, there's a long list of things for the commission to evaluate. And of course, it's without limitation. So there are going to be things that come up during the course of this process that the commission will tend to. And I have the utmost trust in the commission and my former colleagues there. I would like to note a couple of other pieces of this. We focus so much on building generation to meet our growing load, but sometimes we forget to think about the customer side and the demand side of it. How can we lower this demand for electricity? And that can be through energy efficiency. It can be through carefully designed programs to shift load to different times when the electricity is not as expensive. And there's a whole host of tools in the toolbox, but the commission right now does not have the bandwidth in terms of time to delve into these issues and to consider new policies coming about. Just a couple more pieces on the investigatory docket. The commission will provide updates to the Interim Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. This is to encourage that two-way streak of communication between the commission and the legislature, which I found to be helpful and important when I was a commissioner. They'll provide a report to the Legislative Commission of July 1st, 2026. Could be a status report. It could be, hey, we got this, we did a rulemaking, this is going well. Or it could identify areas that are creating roadblocks to really getting to that customer relief. And if the commission finds that it's in the public interest, they will move forward with a rulemaking. So that's the biggest section. And now I'll go really fast to work through some of the less complicated sections. So Section 2 is a revision to NRS 704-110, and that's the rate-making provisions for the commission on all utilities. Here, we're just talking about electric utilities. And as we were debating this and working with the PUC and BCP, Public Utilities Commission and Bureau of Consumer Protection, we heard complaints about workflow, that there are so many dockets before the commission that it's a burden on staff and the commissioner, all of the resources. But then there's other times where it's like a peak and valley. Sometimes it's slower, and the commission can speak more to their workflow challenges. But this is really designed to help with the workflow issue so that the commission can spend time on investigatory dockets, exploring policy options to ensure that the utility shareholder is protected, but most importantly, make sure customers are getting the value and seeing any kind of relief they possibly can on our utility rates. So in subsection 2, it extends the deadline for rate cases from 210 days to 365, and I can speak from experience. That is tough to get through. These are not simple dockets, and the subject matter is rather dry and challenging. And thank God we have economists and accountants who help us through all of that. And then there's a relic from the past in subsection 5 of 704-110 that it allows an application to be approved automatically if the commission doesn't act in the time frame allocated by the statute. There was a time when the commission had no deadlines. It would draw out cases forever, which was not good for customers, and it wasn't good for the utility. So that's a piece that is totally unnecessary, and really giving the commission 365 days, that's ample time to evaluate and issue an order. Section 3 and 4 is just cleanup from the old bill moving to the new bill. Section 5 is about integrated resource planning. It's 704.751. And we've gotten a lot of feedback, and I think we have some fixes to this. Integrated resource plans run on a 130-day schedule or 135-day schedule for a certain portion of it, and 210 for the major parts of it. Oftentimes, those deadlines are almost untenable, and other times, with urgency, the commission will act swiftly, particularly with respect to any kind of contracts with developers or anything that's time sensitive. The commission has been more than gracious in expediting to come to a solution for that. So I do have some suggestions that we keep those deadlines in place, but offer the commission a 90-day extension with good cause. So that's not in the bill today, but I'm going to address that because you're going to hear complaints about it, I'm sure. So I think we have a good solution for that. Finally, Section 6 is deleted as it's no longer necessary, and Section 7 is new language to address an issue that has come up recently, wherein customers who were overcharged by the utility only received refunds for 6 months rather than the several years. And this Section 7 just precludes that practice and would have the utility rework its tariff and rules to accommodate such action. So, sorry, I probably went way over time, but I will turn it now over to my colleague, Christy Cabrera.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christy Cabrera-Georgeson. I'm the Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League. NCL has consistently supported policies that align with our core values, a transition to clean energy that benefits all Nevadans and ensures transparency, accountability, and affordability for ratepayers. Volatile fossil fuel prices, especially gas, have been a major driver of rising energy costs, leading to Nevada having some of the highest energy bills in the country. Consumers are being punished for things outside of their control, while monopoly utilities face no risk. That needs to change. That's why AB 452 is a top priority bill for NCL this legislative session, and we're not alone in believing that this is an important issue. Recent polling shows that 87% of Nevadans support a fuel cost sharing process. Additionally, I'd like to point to a letter we submitted on Nellis from 20 organizations and businesses from across the state that support this policy. This is a bipartisan issue. People want fairness and stable bills. Families and small businesses are desperate for predictability. This policy is a step towards sustainability, stability, and smarter utility decisions. Right now, overwhelming utility activity at the Public Utilities Commission, or PUC, and the lack of transparency are making it hard for regulators, advocates, and members of the public to properly engage in the process. NV Energy is flooding the PUC with filings, including a new general rate case in Southern Nevada right after one in Northern Nevada. They're also filing another integrated resource plan after just having one approved in December, just a few months ago. This level of NV Energy activity with limited regulatory guardrails makes it harder for ratepayers to know what they're paying for or whether it's in their best interest. Extending some of the timelines at the PUC, as proposed in this bill, will help combat this. And from my understanding, that will also remove the fiscal note from the PUC, but they'll have to speak to that when they come up. Last but not least, AB 452 fixes past mistakes. It's absurd that NV Energy can overcharge customers and only offer a partial refund, similar to what happened to a Las Vegas family who was overcharged for 6 years and only received 6 months of payment. This policy would ensure this never happens again by requiring a full refund plus interest when the utility is in the wrong. Because customers have no choice in who provides their electricity, it's critical that we hold monopoly utilities accountable and ensure smart planning that reduces costs, stabilizes bills, and supports a clean energy economy. AB 452 brings all the right stakeholders to the table. It ensures that if a cost-sharing mechanism is adopted, it will be based on evidence and the public interest, not left to chance or unchecked corporate influence. It strengthens oversights and sends a clear message that customers, your everyday Nevadans, come first. AB 452 is a thoughtful, balanced approach to utility accountability. It gives regulators a critical tool to protect ratepayers, promote smarter planning, and push for a more affordable, resilient energy future. I will now pass it back to Assemblymember Brown-May.
Thank you, Tracy Brown-May. For the record, that's the entirety of our presentation. We're happy to stand for questions.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, I do have one. Looking at this conceptual amendment, I mean, it seems like Section 1 is kind of the focus of the policy. And so, you know, my understanding, and just to make sure that everyone is clear on this, is the investigatory docket is a form of study conducted by the Public Utilities Commission. So this lays out some of the items that would be included in that, including a lot of details related to this potential cost-sharing mechanism. And then essentially, if the result of that investigation is that implementing some of those findings would be in the benefit of ratepayers, then they are directed at the end of this to move forward with adopting those recommendations. Is that correct?
For the record, Rebecca Wagner, yes, I think you captured that correctly. The PUC already has the authority to do this. This really is giving them the nudge to do it and saying that it's important. And the expectation is that once they spend as much time with this policy as I have, they will find that it's a really good thing and it benefits both, no harm to the utility and has upside for customers.
All right, thank you for that, and appreciated your remarks about the commission as well. There's another former commissioner in the audience, so. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation. We'll now move to testimony in support of Assembly Bill 452. Anyone wishing to provide testimony in support, either in Carson City or in Las Vegas, please come forward, fill the seats. After we finish in Carson City, we'll go down to Las Vegas. After we finish in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines. And please remember, we do have 5 bills that we're hearing today, so please keep your remarks brief. And if you start to hear, if your points have already been said, ditto or referencing previous speakers is more than okay. It's encouraged. So please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, and members of the committee. My name is Julia Hubbard, and I'm with Solar United Neighbors Action. We represent close to 125,000 solar owners across the state of Nevada and are a nonpartisan organization. We support AB 452 because it would require the Public Utilities Commission to thoroughly evaluate fuel cost practices, explore options for a cost-sharing mechanism, and assess whether implementing such a policy is in the public interest. If found to be in the public interest and implemented, it could also shift some of that financial responsibility back onto the utility so that these costs are shared appropriately, with both ratepayers and shareholders sharing that burden. Nevadans are paying some of the highest utility bills in the nation, and this bill provides a pathway toward affordability and stabilization. We are also supportive of the requirement that customers receive full refunds with interest when overcharged. This common sense protection ensures that when billing errors occur, consumers are properly compensated and utilities are not wrongly holding these funds. We urge your support for this important bill, and thank you for your time today.
Good morning, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, and committee members. Stephen Hamili with the Nevada Solar Association. We concur with the prior testimony. Also as an organization that intervenes in rate and integrated resource plan cases, the extended timelines would be beneficial to properly evaluate filings and to file our response without undue pressure. We support AB 452 and urge your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager, for the record, Director of the Sierra Club's Toyabe chapter. We also fully support AB 452. My organization also intervenes in rate cases and IRP processes and appreciate the extended timeline in order to do so and to facilitate better community and advocate involvement in IRP processes. We also appreciate the other utility accountability measures in this bill and urge your support. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, David Goldwater with Pinion Public Affairs, representing New Day, Nevada. Obviously want to thank you, Assemblywoman Brown-May, for her leadership in this area. Consumer protection and utility accountability are priorities New Day takes very seriously. AB 452 represents a meaningful step towards leveling the playing field for Nevada utility customers and ensuring they are treated fairly by requiring Nevada Energy to have some skin in the game. The bill creates much needed incentives for the company to better manage costs. Will also encourage greater investment in homegrown clean energy sources that can provide long-term bill stability for Nevadans. We also strongly support the bill's amendment that requires utilities to refund all the money for overcharges. As we saw just a few months ago, NV Energies was only required to refund 6 months of overcharges that had actually gone for several years. AB 452 helps correct that. Thank you for your time. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members. My name is Caitlin Gachanyan, and I'm the Nevada representative for Southwest Energy Efficiency Project, or SWEEP for short. I'll keep it simple. I turned in my testimony so you guys can read it, but we are in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Ernest Figueroa. I am a Chief Deputy Attorney General and the Nevada Consumer Advocate and the Executive Head of the Nevada Bureau of Consumer Protection. I want to thank the bill sponsor for their early engagement in discussing AB 452. We support the bill as amended. As the bill sponsors rightfully noted, is a very complicated matter, and we believe the amendment takes the discussion to the right forum. Furthermore, we're also extremely supportive of the amendment that extends the timelines for review. As noted, there's a lot of activity before the Public Utilities Commission, and any relief that my staff can receive in helping review these cases before the commission is extremely appreciated. Thank you.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jamarion Williams. I'm the Government Affairs Manager for Western Resource Advocates. Western Resource Advocates is a nonprofit conservation group that works for common sense solutions to protect our land, air, and water resources. Our clean energy team intervenes in both general rate case and integrated resource planning proceedings at the Commission, representing and advocating for the interests of everyday Nevadans. WRA strongly supports Assembly Bill 452 as amended. The sharing of a fuel cost burden between both customers and shareholders of a utility can be a powerful incentive for a utility to engage in better long-term resource planning. Sharing the risk that comes with from exposure to the volatile nature of natural gas prices can result in a more prudent investment by the utility and prevent Nevadans from feeling the full effects of spikes in prices. These mechanisms are very complex and require and warrant a close examination by the Commission and regulatory staff to ensure that when implemented, they are constructed consistently with best practices, but addresses our state's unique needs. We strongly support Assembly Bill 452 and look forward to the regulatory changes that will benefit Nevadans. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tara Webster, Tarawebster, and I am the Policy Manager with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada. We are here in full support of AB 452 and just want that on the record. Thanks.
Good afternoon, chairs and members of the committee. My name is Hector Arreola, Arreola, and I am the policy fellow with the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition, and we just want to echo all the concerns that were mentioned earlier, and we are here in full support of the bill. Thank you so much.
Chair and members of the committee, for the record, Jessica Ferrado here today on behalf of Switch. We'd like to communicate our support for the bill, thank the Assemblywoman for all of her work on this issue. Particularly in the bill, the provisions that extend the timelines of the PUC during the IRP process are something we're very interested in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else coming forward in Carson City, we'll now go down to Las Vegas. Whoever would like to start, please go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, Chair Watts and the members of the committee. I am Dr. Mary House. I am the CEO of CHR Inc., where I've spent decades helping families in Southern Nevada overcome poverty, find stable employment, and access critical resources. I'm here to express strong support of AB 452, and I want to thank Assemblywoman Tracy Brown May for sponsoring it. You see, I work with a lot of families and seniors here in Southern Nevada, and one of the biggest struggles I hear about is high energy bills. Parents are working multiple jobs, and seniors on fixed income are cutting back on their energy use. This is a dangerous practice for those with health risk, just to keep the power on. These are real people, and they need your help. So AB 452 is one step towards relief. It won't solve everything, but it is a practical fix that we can start to make energy bills more affordable. Right now, Nevadans are shouldering all the risk of NV Energy's decisions, and they can't afford to do that alone. Thank you for considering this bill.
Hello, Chair Watts, Vice Chair, and other members of the committee. My name is Indy Kaufman. I am, INDI, KAUFMAN. I am a Nevada Energy customer from Las Vegas, Nevada. I just want to share as a customer my problems and my experience with these high costs. Even with the suggestions that they tell us to do to kind of lower the cost, like adjusting the thermostat, that doesn't help. We know last year we had record temperature heat, so everybody had to use their air conditioner. And I can tell you that my bill jumped from $91 to $245. That's a huge difference. I'm a single mother on a fixed income, so I understand that that's very difficult. So we do need some help. And for me, the things that I had to give up and sacrifice was being able to drive to California to see my family. You know, with gas prices being high already, and then having to turn around and pay Nevada Energy, I had to make a decision of which is more important for my family: having air conditioner at home when we get in, or going to see family. So I would like to see this bill passed and supported because we do need help. Um, there's only so much we can do. So we need Nevada Energy to step up and help incur these costs to help relieve the burden that's being passed on to the consumers who can no longer afford it. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Pastor Marlon Anderson. That's MARLONANDERSON, and I am the Clean Energy Community Organizer for Faith Organizing Alliance. First, on behalf of the community, I speak for everybody when I say, come on, man. I mean, come on, man. This is getting outrageous. High electricity bills are a major source of stress, and people work hard to get ahead, but keep falling behind as costs that are out of control keep going up. People are stretching every dollar that they earn to survive, but sometimes it's just not enough. We need solutions that bring some sense of accountability and fairness to the energy system. And I believe that AB 452 will help. It starts to shift some of the burden off struggling families and puts it back where it belongs, with the utility that has been allowed to profit off the backs of hardworking Nevadans. On behalf of the community, I also say, support this bill. Thank you.
Hello, Chair Watts and members of the committee. My name is Carol Polk, CAROLP as in Paul, OLK. I am on a fixed income, and in January 2024 was a rate increase which caused my bill to be extremely high last summer, causing a financial hardship. Not knowing where or whom to turn to for help became very difficult. And because everyone I knew was struggling to make ends meet as well, there was no sense in me even reaching out, which is really sad. I did decide that I had to make a sacrifice of some medications or some basic home essentials to survive, just to pay my energy bill. Now, then there was another increase imposed October 2024. Now I'm faced again with trying to find reasonable means to pay a high utility bill. I researched ways to save on costs by turning down the thermostat, switching to LED lighting, and even unplugging anything using energy when not in use, just to find out that the bill was still outrageously high. I even applied for energy assistance that offered $20 a month. I mean, that wasn't even gonna make a dent. Yes, it was a nice gesture, or there were even some that said that there were no funds available. Now, personally, I felt at that time that I was stuck in a hole that I couldn't find or climb my way out of. I say to Envy Energy, there has to be another way, a better solution than constantly raising rates. In my humble opinion, I believe it's time for Envy Energy to work harder toward achieving renewable energy, to develop a greener energy future, helping to regulate their revenue investment increases and with cost-effective savings for their customers. I urge you to support this bill, and I thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. My name is Fred Smith. That's Fred Smith. I am an NV Energy customer who resides on the east side of Las Vegas and to discuss the problems that I've been having with my bill is that I remember last time I had a bill of $452, and I contacted NV Energy as into why it was so high. And they told me that there was nothing that they can do about it except send someone to come and check on it. They came and ran a check on it and still said that my bill was high. I really didn't know why. I was the only person that was living in the house. That put a financial hardship on me as a disabled veteran. You know, I'm on a fixed income. I have to pay for a lot of medications. I have to go to a lot of appointments, and having a high energy bill really put me at a bad disadvantage. I even wind up spending time at the mall trying to just get away from being in my house and turned all the utilities off, including the air conditioner, to try to save money. It still didn't help out the cause at all. And I just urge you guys to try to think about the senior citizens, the disabled veterans, and the people like myself that's on fixed incomes. And I urge this AB bill, this AB 452 bill, to go through. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Clotia Smith, and I would just like to piggyback off of my husband of what he went through. But I wanted to say that really stood out to me. I had my grandkids out here from California, and they just kept saying, "Mama, please cut on the air conditioner," but we couldn't afford it. We would walk around the malls and go to Chuck E. Cheese, but that was still money. But that was just the thing that stood out to me most. And now my grandkids don't want to come out here because they said it's too hot. So please pass this bill. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Elizabeth Glover, common spelling, and I'm coming as a community advocate as well as a resident of Las Vegas, Nevada. Last year, my energy bills were so high that I had to constantly reevaluate budgeting for necessities like food, clothing, housing, and even, like we heard, some summer experiences for my children. With an average of $25 a day, which is what my bill costs, it got to a point that my family had to relocate for nearly 2 months to the humidity of Georgia just to avoid the desert heat that we could not afford to pay. So not only did this mean moving my children from their home, it also meant that my family could not be here to contribute to our very own Nevadan economy. My electricity bill was so high, even though I put in a request to have the smart thermostats installed, and I often reduce the amount of air circulating through my home despite climbing temperatures, which for us often meant having to find somewhere else to go just to be able to cool down. That said, I ask for the committee's support for families like mine across Nevada. I urge you in supporting AB 452, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Tatiana Easley Beatty, spelled Tatiana, last name Beatty, Batie. I'm a small business owner, wife, mother, and a community youth advocate. I live right here in Las Vegas. And as of last year, going into current bill of this year, from 2024, the energy bill has skyrocketed out of unusual understanding. The bill has been increased with cost of electricity has deep impacted my family. And why this bill is so important for me and my family and other families like ours. My husband and I are both self-employed, and we carefully budget our household expenses based on income that we expect to have on a monthly basis. While we do that, on our monthly plans and utilities, the unexpected spikes of energy costs took us by a shock. We constantly plan to pay, but when we have bills that are unexpected, it's setting us up for failure. This has forced us into two, not just one, but two payment plans that we are still trying to keep up with. As entrepreneurs, we've had months where we didn't even make enough to cover what most basic cost needs were. That stress, trying to keep the lights on and knowing that we're falling behind on payments meant a lot, and losing electricity, we had to decide electricity on some days or some months. It's very overwhelming to know that these bills are not keeping us or giving us a peace of mind and comfort of our safety. The struggle to make ends meet and making real sacrifices and having to postpone repairs in our house and pay utility bills and turning off our lights, unplugging devices, and drastically reducing our air and conditioning to less so that 100-degree weather actually tapped into our house. It caused extreme heat, and with us constantly having a sick son, we spent a lot of time in the hospital. With this remaining shocking high increase to the bills, we still, as I said, are paying off monthly bills and on payment plans to make sure that we stay where we need to stay. As of now, we know our bill shows that we only spent $11.70, but our bill accumulated to $345. Can somebody please give us a proper explanation on how that mathematically can show? When you mathematically put that together, that's only $100 and something a month, but you guys constantly keep giving us a bill of over $300 to $400. As other families in the community, I urge that we get some better understanding support on this bill so we can have lower costs for our families. Thank you again.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else coming forward in Las Vegas, AVH, can we check the phone lines to see if anyone would like to provide testimony in support of AB 452?
To testify in support for Assembly Bill 452, please press *9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in support, please press *9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Paulette Henriod. That's PAULETTE I represent Mormon Women for Ethical Government, or MWEG, and we are concerned about the health and economic impacts of energy availability and affordability on individuals and families in our state. We are in full support of AB 452. We echo what others have said in support and have submitted written testimony with further details. So thank you for your time, and we urge your support as well.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Chantel Roberts, testifying in support of AB 452. We signed on to a letter that we hope you all had the chance to read, and we urge your support for AB 452. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Callie McKenna, and I'm here to testify on behalf of Advanced Energy United. Advanced Energy United is a national business trade association of advanced energy technologies and services spanning both utility scale and distribution level. And we support AB 52 as amended. Thank you for your time.
Chair, the public line is open and working. We have no more callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We'll now move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 452. Anyone wishing to provide testimony in opposition in Carson City or in Las Vegas, please come forward. We'll begin here in Carson City. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and members of the committee. My name is Janet Wells. I'm the Vice President of NV Energy in charge of Integrated Resource Planning. I'm here on behalf of NV Energy, and NV Energy opposes AB 452 and the amendment in its current form. We do understand the desire to protect customers from commodity price volatility, but even as amended, this bill opens the door to risky and costly changes in how Nevada procures and seeks recovery of fuel and purchase power costs. Nevada already has one of the strongest regulatory oversights in the country. NV Energy does not mark up fuel or purchase power that it buys on behalf of its customers. Moreover, every dollar spent on fuel and purchase power is already independently reviewed by the Commission staff, and the consumer advocate. The Commission also already has full authority to deny cost recovery of any energy or fuel purchases they deem to be imprudent. Put simply, the existing system works. This bill attempts to provide a solution for a problem that simply doesn't exist. The idea that customers are unprotected or that utilities lack incentive to manage costs simply is not true. This bill calls for a time-intensive investigatory docket that would lead to adoption of complex and expensive hedging strategies. Hedging strategies that necessarily add cost and complexity, ultimately leading to increased costs for our customers. Importantly, after the California energy crisis, which led to rolling brownouts and even blackouts, soaring prices, and utility bankruptcy, Nevada at that time made a deliberate policy shift away from exposing utilities to fuel procurement risk. That decision shaped today's workable framework, which emphasizes prudency, transparency, timely adjustments, and customer protection. AB 452 is a shift backwards and a move in the opposite direction we should be taking as a state. Finally, this bill creates process but not progress. The current process we have is working for Nevada. It's working for the benefit of our customers. Reviewing the average price of electricity in Nevada compared to neighboring states, the current process led to declines in rates while almost all neighboring states experienced increases in the same time period. Additionally, the current system provided a framework for an approved decrease in July of 2023. Again, the regulations we already have are working for customers, and we respectfully urge your no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we move on to other presenters, I did give you some additional time, given your position, and did want to open up the opportunity for any members to ask questions. Seeing none, I do have a couple. You mentioned that the Public Utilities Commission has the authority to deny any fuel purchase costs that they deem to not be prudent. Has that ever happened?
Yes, there were, but
And
prior to
name
putting...
for the record.
I apologize. My name is Janet Wells for NV Energy. Yes, there were costs reviewed. I don't have the specific details in front of me in the early 2000s prior to putting this mechanism in place that we have today with the quarterly changes in the annual review. There have been costs that have been denied.
Okay, thank you. So, but not on costs since the early 2000s?
I don't have that detail in front of me today. I apologize.
Thank you. If you could follow up on that, that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Could you also tell us what was the highest increase that we saw percentage-wise in average bills during the natural gas fuel cost spike that we saw, I guess, in the wake of the pandemic and the various supply chain issues and the war in Ukraine as well?
So again, I don't have the details in front of me today, but due to the current mechanism where we adjust the rates every quarter for fuel and purchase power costs, the rates never got too far behind where the costs were experienced. There were every quarter slight increases that then after July of 2023, when using the existing regulations, we did receive the ability to decrease in July of 23. So again, I don't have the numbers in front of me today, but would be happy to follow up with those. And again, that was Janet Wells for the record.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. And then last question, was there an impact to the shareholders at Berkshire Hathaway Energy as a result of the increase in fuel costs?
So as I said, Janet Wells for the record, as I said in my statement, fuel and purchase power is a pass-through. There's no profit, but there's also no, it doesn't, it's just simply pass-through costs to customers through rates.
Okay, thank you. If you could follow up with the committee on some of that information on the increases that we experienced during that last price episode, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, Janet Wells for the record, what I can absolutely offer is the peak did occur in 2023. And if you look at our effective rates as they stand today, they've been declining since that time. So in 2024, they did decrease over the same time period from 23. And again, due to the mechanism that is in place today, it allowed that to happen over time.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. We have another question. Assemblymember Dickman.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. I just have a quick question about the new Section 7 in the amendment. So how did it come to be that if someone was overcharged, that they were only refunded that small portion of what they were overcharged?
This is Janet Wells for the record. The NV Energy implemented a rule that has actually been in existence for quite some time in the state, and that was what the rule had dictated.
So how big of an effect would this have if you actually refunded people what they were overcharged?
Again, I apologize, Janet Wells, for the record. I do not have those numbers in front of me today.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. We'll add that to the follow-up. Thank you, Ms. Wells. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hunter Stern with IBW Local 1245, HUNTERSTERN. 1245 represents workers at NV Energy here in Northern Nevada. That includes gas workers, electrical workers, and customer service workers, which means that we interact with the public over 90% of the interactions on a daily basis. We're aware of what their concerns are, and we are expert in addressing, to the best of our ability, those concerns. I have said this many times before, and I'm going to say it again. We do not want to be California. Nevada has done very well in avoiding the kinds of mistakes that California has made. And one of those mistakes was this fuel sharing structure that was in place during the energy crisis in California in 2001. This resulted in spikes of cost. It also resulted in market manipulation aspects. There were other causes of that market manipulation, but this aspect was part of that, both on the gas and the electric side. We want to avoid those problems and those harms, and the California customers paid that. It wasn't the utilities, and it wasn't the state. The state loaned money, but the customers paid it back because, unfortunately, that is the structure. Costs that are legitimate, that are found to be reasonable and prudent by the commission, will be assessed to customers. We are very sympathetic to the customers who have testified today about high bills. It puts pressure on us as workers. It puts pressure on us when we talk to the company about wages and benefits. It puts pressure on us in serving them. We want the bills to be as low as possible so that we can provide the services that customers expect and that they can pay for them affordably. That is a big, critical part of this equation. I am very disappointed that NCL specifically has told customers that this is going to save them money. It will not. Absolutely will not. The high bills are associated with usage, not high rates. And the fact that NCL has been rallying support for this.
Mr. Stern,
Yes.
I'm just going to ask you to refrain from anything that may be seen as attacking an individual entity.
Okay.
Thank you.
But it's a fact that they're rallying people around this is misguided. We want the best for the customers. We also point out that these attacks are essentially against the commission. We have a lot of respect for the Public Utilities Commission in Nevada. The former commissioner, former chair, mentioned that some of these steps can be done by the commission already. They have the authority to do so. We urge the commission to take that up. And we want to point out that some of the beneficiaries of this are non-utility energy companies. And that's an important aspect of this bill. Let the commission have the authority
And Mr.
to do what it
Stern,
does.
You're already past 3 minutes.
Okay.
I've generally been going with 2, so can you wrap it up, please?
I'll be happy to. Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate the reminder. For the benefit of our members and for the benefit of the customers we serve, we want this bill amended further and to a point that we can support it. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nick Schneider, Director of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. We are here in opposition as well to AB 452. For the sake of brevity, I'll go ahead and echo the comments made by my colleagues and just add that the uncertainty in cost recovery as well as that increased financial risk could lead to delayed infrastructure updates as well as higher rate volatility, both of which would be disruptive to our business members. We're also concerned that this could make Nevada less attractive to new investment from companies looking at relocating. Thank you for time and consideration.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and members of the committee. My name is Dylan Keith, Dylan-Keith. I'm the Senior Manager of Government Affairs for Southwest Gas. We are in opposition to the amended version of this bill today, specifically for the strikeout in Section 2, Sub 5. NRS 704110 is a overarching chapter that covers all utilities, and for that reason, we have concerns. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. For the record.
Hold on,
Yes,
hold
sir.
on just one moment. Mr. Keith, can you just speak a little bit more to that, the impact that that section would have on Southwest Gas?
Absolutely, Chair Watts. Thank you for the question. Currently, the PUCN has 210 days to review an application. With this strikeout, we would remove that time limit. While that is addressed for electric utilities to 365 days in this amendment, it is not addressed for Southwest or for natural gas utilities. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good to see you. For the record, Trey Abney, Tray Abney, here today representing the hardworking job creators of NFIB Nevada. Will associate myself with the comments made by the Las Vegas Chamber. Certainly, Nevada businesses rely on stable and affordable electricity to operate, expand, and hire. And we do have a concern that this bill could threaten that stability by injecting long-term uncertainty into how utility costs are recovered. And so for those reasons and the reasons mentioned by the Chamber, we oppose this bill at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. That's Tomclark. Here on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, I too echo the comments made previously. We face really uncertain times right now in the world, and the business community relies on stable prices, relies on knowing that that invoice when it comes across in the mail is not going to be a surprise. And so for those reasons, we join the opposition. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Alex Noriega, representing the Nevada State AFL-CIO. We echo the comments made by our brothers and sisters at IBEW and at the current time oppose the bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Danny Thompson, representing IBEW 396 and IBEW 1245. This bill will shift financial risk for fuel and power costs like natural gas onto utilities, even though those costs are driven by global markets and are completely outside their control. To manage that risk, utilities may turn to complex financial tools that are expensive and can backfire, ultimately raising rates for the customers. Nevada moved away from these kind of risky policies after the California energy crisis in the early 2000s. And I remember those crises very well in this very committee, well, not this committee similar to this that had to deal with it, which caused blackouts, price spikes, and utility failures. We spent decades building a better system, and it works. Today's utilities recover fuel costs only after they've been fully reviewed by the Public Utilities Commission. That process already protects ratepayers without putting unnecessary risk on utilities. AB 452 adds layers of complexity, relies on forecasts, and opens the door to volatility with no clear benefit to consumers. It really is a solution in search of a problem, and it threatens to destabilize a regulatory system that has served Nevada well. We urge you to vote no on AB 452. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, and members of the committee. My name is Jeremy Newman, NEWMAN. For the record, Senior Assistant Business Manager with IBEW Local 396 in Las Vegas. I'm here in opposition to AB 452 as amended. While we appreciate the sponsor's effort, we remain concerned about AB 452 opens the doors to costly changes for Nevada ratepayers. Big energy projects need stability to move forwards. If there's too much uncertainty, large-scale projects are less likely to be approved. When the rules around energy investment become unclear, projects slow down or stop. And that means fewer jobs, delayed apprenticeships, less apprenticeship opportunities, and fewer steady working opportunities for Nevadan skilled trades. For these reasons, we respectfully urge you to vote no on AB 452. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Wendy Newman, NEWMAN, representing Southern Nevada chapter of the National Electrical Contractors Association. AB 452 could lead to less spending on energy infrastructure, which means fewer opportunities in construction, maintenance, and operations. Despite these risks, there's no clear benefit to contractors or workers in this bill. We respectfully urge you to vote no on AB 452. Thank you.
All right, seeing nobody else coming forward in Carson City, we'll move down to Las Vegas. Please, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Amber Stidham, STIDHAM with Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance for the Regional Economic Development Agency, serving all of Clark County. For all the reasons that you heard earlier, we're also opposed to the bill, including as amended. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and members of the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. For the record, my name is Anna Wood, ANAWOOD, Government Affairs Chair, member of the Board of Directors of the Las Vegas Asian Chamber of Commerce. While the sponsors' efforts are greatly appreciated, I am here in opposition of AB 452 as amended. There is a major concern regarding risk and costly changes to Nevada ratepayers. Our businesses rely on stable and affordable electricity to operate and expand, not knowing how long it will take to recover utility costs. This delay can be detrimental to Asian businesses, our community as a whole, and the future economic growth of our state. We respectfully urge you your no vote on AB 452. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, and members of the committee. My name is Ronald Young. I represent the IBEW Local 357 in Southern Nevada, Las Vegas. We stand in solidarity with the utility local IBEW unions in opposition of AB 452 and agree that the delays in project development can have serious consequences on Nevada's green energy goals and possibly increase cost. Developers will not sit and wait to build, which puts projects that pay good-paying union jobs at risk, further adding to Nevada's current unemployment issues. Permitting and long approval times have killed clean energy projects in the past, which I think we can all agree is counterproductive to the goals that we have here in Nevada. We look forward with continuing to work with the bill sponsor to help come to a resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Young. And seeing nobody else coming forward in Las Vegas, AVH, can we please check the phone lines for opposition to Assembly Bill 452?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 452, please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue.
Hello, this is Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce, here to offer opposition to this bill. I will echo what many of my colleagues have already said, and in respect of time, we'll just say that this shifts responsibilities and financial risk, and the business community does not like instability. They like stability, and Nevadans also deserve stability. So for those reasons and many more, the Latin Chamber of Commerce is in full opposition to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Watts and members of the committee. My name is Emily Osterberg, OSTERBERG, and I'm here representing the Henderson Chamber of Commerce and our over 2,000 members. We are also in opposition to AB 452 for many of the reasons already mentioned. We're particularly concerned with the risks created by this bill for the Nevada business community, which relies on predictable and affordable electricity to operate, invest, and grow. We are also concerned that this will threaten Nevada's attractiveness for new investment particularly for energy-intensive industries evaluating long-term commitments to the state. For these reasons, we are also opposed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and Assembly members. My name is Jacob Haas, Haas. I am the business manager for IBEW Local 401 in Reno, representing over 1,100 electricians that install this renewable energy in Northern Nevada. And not to get long, but we are in opposition of AB 452 as amended, as stated with my previous colleagues that have already stated. Thank you.
If you have recently joined and would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 452, please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no more callers for opposition at this time.
All right, and we will now move on to testimony in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 452. Anyone wishing to provide neutral testimony, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and members of the committee. For the record, my name's Kelsey Hardy. That's CELSSIEHARDY, with Holland and Hart here today on behalf of the Nevada Resort Association. The Nevada Resort Association is neutral on AB 452 as we continue to evaluate the conceptual amendment that has been proposed. We appreciate the bill sponsor's willingness to work with all stakeholders on this issue and want to address two provisions in the bill with the amendment that we believe will improve the regulatory processes in Nevada. First, extending the time for the PUC to rule on general rate cases from 210 days to 365 days. Second, allowing the PUC to extend the time to rule on an IRP by 90 days for good cause. Shown provides necessary flexibility for the commission when dealing with particularly complex or technical issues in these very important filings. We are still reviewing the language in the amendment in Section 1 around the investigatory docket process that examines how fuel and purchase power costs would be passed on to customers. We are actively working with the bill sponsor to further understand the implications of this approach and the new language. We will continue to engage as stakeholders as this bill progresses, and thank you for the opportunity to testify this afternoon.
Thank you, Chair Watts and members of the committee. For the record, Garrett Weir, GARRETTWEIR. I'm General Counsel for the Public Utilities Commission. I'd like to start by thanking Assemblymember Brown May and the Nevada Conservation League for the early outreach to the PUCN and for the fact that the PUCN's feedback is reflected in the proposed amendment. Next, I'd like to address the PUCN's fiscal note that was attached to the initial version of the bill. With the proposed amendments, the Commission believes that the workload associated with the proposed investigation would be more than offset by the increased flexibility that the agency would have to manage workload and prioritize workload, dedicate resources, again, with more discretion over those longer periods of time for resolving major cases such as general rate cases. So with that as proposed in the amendment, with that language, the fiscal note can be removed if that amendment is adopted. So with regard to the specific components of the bill or its effect, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee has.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weir. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. And, we've got no one in Las Vegas. AVH, can we check the phone lines to see if anyone would like to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 452?
Testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 452. Please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
All right, we'll now invite our presenter back for closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tracy Brown May for the record. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 452 for your consideration today. It's unfortunate we only heard from 4 interested parties before today's bill hearing. The amount of opposition that has come against this bill is a little bit disconcerting, I'll be honest with you. I'm hoping that NV Energy doesn't decide to fluctuate my energy. Just, sorry, not funny, sorry, too soon. It's really about the uncertainty of the rates, all right? It's exactly what this bill proposes to address, as you heard from the business community. That's what our ratepayers are facing every day. It's the uncertainty of the rates and how that's getting passed on to our consumers. That's what we're hoping to address. You know that old saying, when people don't like a bill, you probably have a good bill? That means growth and change is painful for all of us. It's important that we continue to collaborate in the solutions for how energy is utilized and paid for throughout the entirety of the state. Right now, all rate costs are passed on to the ratepayer. There's no consistency as it stands currently. Business absorbs that pass-through rate. That's true across the community and the bills that I pay. Labor and employment is essential to the future of our robust economy. Never do we ever want to disregard the importance of organized labor and quality employment and health and benefits that go along with that. Those jobs are essential. So are our families. Our businesses deserve to know what their costs are. So perhaps the PUC could be tagged at a higher or staffed at a higher degree to ensure that they can complete their work in less time. Maybe that's where we invest this. As the bill sponsor, I look forward to continuing these conversations to move energy and rates forward, as long as also with accountability, so that we can ensure everyone is equitable in this process. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And with that, I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 452 and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 481, which establishes the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Incentive Program. We'll welcome the presenters to the table. Go ahead and take a moment to get situated. Begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of Southwest Airlines. That's TOMCLARK, and very much appreciate the ability to present to you AB 481. With me is Ruben Zaragoza from Southwest Airlines. Also on the Zoom link, hopefully we have Mr. Sean Newsom from A4A, and also Lauren Tremblay with Southwest Airlines. I'm going to take just a quick minute to walk through the bill. It's pretty self-explanatory, but we do have an amendment. So Section 1 of the bill is the introductory. Section 2, Section 2 and Section 3 set up the fund, the incentive fund that we'll discuss in more detail. Sections 3 and 4 give the state treasurer the ability to administer the fund. Under Section 3 is where we talk about how the fund is going to be used. In Section 3 sub 2 sub A, we suggest $1.75 per gallon of the purchase of SAF produced outside of the state. We're removing that section. It's important to understand that this really truly is, while you're going to hear from the airline today and the airline industry, because of the ability to use sustainable aviation fuel, it truly is an economic development bill. There are companies in the north, in the south, and rural parts of our state who are looking to refine and develop sustainable aviation fuel. And this bill, with this incentive fund, will create an opportunity for them to know that Nevada is open for business when it comes to SAF, and they can further their research and do the things that they need to do. Oh, good. We have Ms. Tremblay and Mr. Newsom, and we'll introduce them as they go. For now, I will turn it over to Mr. Zaragoza to present our arguments as to why this bill is so important.
Thank you, Tom. For the record, Ruben Zaragoza, RUBENZARAGOZA. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman Watts and members of the Assembly Growth and Infrastructure Committee. My name is Ruben Zaragoza, State and Local Affairs Director for Southwest Airlines. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you in support of Assembly Bill 481, Sustainable Aviation Fuel Incentive Program. As Nevada's largest carrier, Southwest operates over 300 daily flights and uses 140 million gallons of jet fuel for flights departing the state annually. Sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, is essential to the decarbonization of the aviation industry and a key role in Southwest's climate strategy, which includes replacing 10% of jet fuel with SAF by 2030, cutting emissions intensity by 50% by 2035, and achieving net zero emissions by 2050. However, SAF is a nascent market with high production cost, infrastructure hurdles, and investment risk. At 2 to 3 times the cost of conventional jet fuel, adoption is limited. State-based programs and incentives are crucial to bridging the cost gap, driving adoption, and enabling SAF scalability. Several producers are either currently producing or planning to produce SAF in Nevada without a state-based program and incentives. However, these gallons will be diverted to California and other markets for uplift and exporting the environmental benefits outside of the state. A SAF incentive program will position Nevada as a leader in clean fuels and energy security. By becoming a hub for SAF, innovation, and investment, Nevada can benefit from the economic growth and energy security of this emerging market while contributing to a cleaner future. SAF adoption will also play a significant role in reducing greenhouse emissions in Nevada, supporting the state climate goals, and addressing the air quality impacts in local communities. So this slide, what is SAF? SAF is a drop-in fuel that can leverage existing infrastructure and aircraft and immediately reduce life cycle emissions and air pollutants. It is produced from a sustainable source or feedstock other than petroleum, for example, cooking oil, animal fats, and agricultural residue or municipal solid waste, for example. The product must meet rigorous specifications to ensure safety of flight, equivalent to what's currently being used for jet fuel standards, and emit less carbon on its life cycle basis than conventional jet fuel. As stated earlier, SAF is critical to the aviation decarbonization and a key lever in Southwest climate strategy. As you can see from this chart, Southwest is already making significant investments in transitioning to modernizing its fleet. Southwest is slowly retiring its older airplanes and replacing it with newer, quieter, more fuel-efficient airplanes. The dark blue section of this section is SAF. As you can see, SAF is key for Southwest's pathway to net zero by 2025. SAF is an emerging market, but it does face high production costs and infrastructure challenges and investment risk. For example, conventional jet fuel, the cost of producing conventional jet fuel, the cost of crude oil plus refinery costs plus transport costs plus storage will average to approximately $3 per gallon of jet fuel. However, SAF feedstock cost plus processing cost plus production costs plus transport costs plus blending costs plus storage equates to over $8 a gallon per SAF. It's 2 to 3 times the cost of conventional jet fuel, and thus why it's beneficial for state producers to ship it out to states that already have SAF programs in place. AB 481 will position Nevada as a leader in clean fuels, drive economic growth, and reduce emissions. It would create a state program to incentivize SAF uplift in Nevada. As the aviation industry increases shift to SAF, Nevada could become a hub for innovation and investment, economically benefiting from a thriving new industry. And SAF adoption will play a key role in reducing transportation-related greenhouse emissions, supporting Nevada's broader climate goals change. In slide 5, I want to show you other states that have already included legislation or have pending SAF legislation in place. And now I would like to invite Sean Newsom, no related to Gavin Newsom, but Sean Newsom with Airlines for America to discuss SAF from an industry standpoint.
Thank you, Ruben. Good afternoon. My name is Sean Newsom, spelled Newsum, Managing Director for Environmental Affairs at Airlines for America, or A4A, as we like to call it. We are the principal trade association of the major airlines of the United States. I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak with you today in support of AB 41 that would create a SAF incentive program in Nevada. Nevada is an important market for U.S. airlines. All 10 A4A members serve the state of Nevada, accounting for roughly 77% of all flights. Including non-A4A members, a total of 31 airlines serve 162 destinations from the Reno and Las Vegas airports combined. And to support those operations, jet fuel uplift in Nevada reached approximately 500 million gallons last year. A4A and its members are committed to reducing the carbon emissions of aviation and achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050. As Ruben pointed out, transitioning to lower carbon intensity SAF is core to this commitment. Like Southwest, other A4A members have individual targets for SAF adoption, and collectively, A4A and its members have established the ambitious goal to make 3 billion gallons of affordable SAF available in the United States by 2030 by working with governments and other stakeholders across the value chain. Airlines are SAF buyers, not SAF producers, and affordability is key to achieving our ambitions. As Ruben noted, at present, SAF is costly at 2 to 3 times the price of conventional jet fuel, and it hasn't yet attracted the type and scale of investment needed to dramatically increase the level of production needed or reach a cost level for airlines to more rapidly scale SAF adoption. The advanced renewable fuels production capacity of the US, which encompasses renewable diesel and SAF and a few other fuels using advanced feedstocks and technologies, has been growing substantially in the US over the past several years, reaching 4.5 billion gallons of operable capacity in 2024. However, where the capacity to produce SAF exists, producers have greater incentive to produce renewable diesel, and thus SAF is produced and used at levels below its potential. Last year, SAF availability in the US reached 110 million gallons, which was a fourfold increase over 2023, so tremendous progress being made. But only 38 million of those gallons came from US producers. So there's tremendous opportunity in front of us that we want to capture. A combination of federal and state incentives, combined with airlines and their customers sharing the remaining cost premiums, have enabled increased SAF production and use in other parts of the US. For these reasons, we recognize and appreciate the consideration by the state of Nevada of the AB 41 SAF incentive program to further the availability and commercialization of SAF in the state and the US. Nevada can be a difference maker as we strive to grow the availability of SAF across the US. AB 481 would support the uplift of SAF in Nevada by making delivery and use of SAF in the state more economically advantageous compared to other states. The state of Illinois passed similar legislation that has driven the first recurring SAF deliveries seen by the state of Illinois. Prior to that, most of the SAF produced would go to California and take advantage of their LCFS program. Illinois' SAF tax credit changed that dynamic, and Nevada's can as well. With Nevada's proximity to the West Coast, and with the new SAF production facility coming online in Nevada earlier this year, the timing could not be better to provide an incentive to keep those fuels in state. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Tom Clark on behalf of Southwest Airlines. I do want to touch a little bit more on the bill. My team did great. I told them that they had to go through this quickly because you got a stacked agenda, and I think we're doing pretty good on time. In Section 3, Sub 2B is where the real incentive lands. It's a $2.50 per gallon incentive for the uplift of SAF into the aircraft. So when we were constructing this, and Lauren and Ruben and I, amongst the folks from A4A and others, as we were constructing this piece of legislation, we wanted to make sure that our airports were not going to be affected, so that their tax rates the things that they are banking on from the tax of jet fuel wouldn't be eliminated or hurt. This is truly a pilot program to encourage the refinery and the development of SAF within our state, which is a huge economic boom for Apex and Trick and for Lincoln County and others that are looking at developing this type of fuel. And so the way that it works, the airline fills up with SAF, they fly out, the accounting department sends an invoice to the state treasurer looks at it, submits the rebate from the general fund for the number of gallons that they procured in Nevada at a limit of, and this is not the money committee, we'll get into that hopefully when it gets over to Ways and Means, $10 million is the amount that we're asking for the initial fund. I have to make it clear too, that because of the regulations that need to be created, because of the chance or the ability for the refiners to actually have the product available in Nevada for uplift into the airlines, we probably are not gonna see this policy in place until the 26-27 session. So yes, there is a price tag. Yes, we have no money. But the policy, we firmly believe, is one that we can put in place to make Nevada, fill the donut hole as far as how we can generate this type of fuel and benefit the airlines, benefit the environment, and the refiners that are gonna produce it. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will open it up for any questions. Lauren is our technical support analyst, and she's available to answer any of the technical questions that you may have. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right,
Chair.
thank you very much for the presentation. We do have a question from Assemblymember Backus.
Thank you so much, Chair. And I think it's self-explanatory, but when I first heard this presentation, it just didn't seem like maybe we would be waiting for aircraft that could start to utilize this fuel. But from what I'm reading in the slide deck, the exemplar is that, in fact, Southwest Boeing 737s are currently using SAF out of Illinois. So with that slide, I'll use my next question. You're nodding yes, so that makes it confirmed. But when I'm looking at this as like from a perspective of an economic development bill, I'm just trying to understand, it doesn't look like there's anything going to be generated in Nevada. Rather, we're just bringing this fuel in from wherever it may be manufactured to be sold in our state. And if that's the case, I'm just kind of curious how the incentives par amongst the other states that have passed this, which I guess includes Illinois, and I'm not sure if any of the other states have already passed legislation like this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to you and through you to Assemblywoman Backus. Tom Clark for the record here on behalf of Southwest. Thank you very much for the question. That was the intent behind the amendment that we put forward in removing that language so that the out-of-state SAF does not qualify for the incentive. It has to be refined and produced in Nevada. So if it's at the Edgewood facility in Apex or the facilities up at Trick or other places, when they pipe that SAF to those airports, that's the fuel that will achieve the incentive, not any fuel that comes from out of the state.
And for the record, Ruben Zaragoza, to answer your question, I think where you were heading, yes, it's a drop-in that we could add to our planes right now, and it could immediately have an impact on the environment. So SAF could be put in our planes right now, and it doesn't need any additional infrastructure currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Vice Chair Carter.
Thank you. I'm trying to understand now that during session, we all know, and probably everybody in this room has experienced sticker shock and feeling like price gouging is going on, flying from Las Vegas to Reno and back and forth. And that's taking a lot of state money from the legislators flying back and forth. And now you're asking us to allocate $10 million to subsidize a company that price gouges our state? Can you help me understand how that makes any sense at all?
Mr. Chairman, Tom Clark for the record. The important thing here is that this is for all airlines. This is not just for Southwest Airlines. And the long-term goal with all of the incentive programs that we have is that we refine enough of the fuel and costs go down. That is ultimately the goal behind this particular piece of legislation. So I recognize the frustration that's seen across the board with travel at this time, but I think Mr. Newsom from A4A can confirm that this is not a Southwest bill. This is a bill that is going to benefit every air carrier that comes into our state.
Yes, I can confirm that this is something that is of interest to all the U.S. airlines and all the members of A4A.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Okay, Assemblymember Dickman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So did you say, are there many producers of this sustainable fuel in Nevada now?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Lauren Tremblay, I can speak. Oh, sorry, go for it.
Please.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, Lauren Tremblay here from Southwest Airlines. We know of three various producers that are producing in Nevada currently. So there are multiple producers that are making SAF currently today or have the potential to make SAF. So there are viable options out there that we could potentially partner with in the coming timeline to be able to kind of procure that SAF from one of those producers and be able to both have that SAF being produced within the state and us uplifting it within the state as well.
So right now, currently, is that SAF being sold out of our state by people who produce it in our state for the most part?
That is correct. Currently, it's being sent outside of the state.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblymember Yurick.
Thank you, Chair. And I apologize if this was part of your presentation. I missed. I'm going back and forth between amendments and the bill. It looks like now with the amendment, it would be the $2.50 per gallon for SAF produced in Nevada would be the reimbursement. Did you guys clarify what the actual cost per gallon that airlines are typically paying now?
The cost for SAF currently is typically between like $8 to $16, depending on the feedstock and the production pathway that's currently utilized, and Sean can probably speak to that as well. But we typically do see prices 2 to 3 times the cost of conventional jet fuel for sustainable aviation fuel.
All right, thank you. Members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Karas.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this presentation. I have 2 concerns. I'm going to try and figure out how to ask these as a question. The 10 million, I know we're not a finance committee, but will this go on indefinitely or until you gain enough people that are using it? Because $15 to $16 a gallon seems a lot to me.
Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tom Clark for the record. The intent behind this legislation is to create a pilot program to get this product moving. So that $10 million will be the static $10 million if the money committees are so willing to put it forward. Again, may not take place for a couple of years simply because the refiners aren't there. At the end of that time frame, we would come back to the legislature and report what it is that this program did. But the intent then is to take a look, come back, say, yes, this program worked. The pilot program did work, and we'd like a continuation of some level of incentive, whether it be another infusion of cash from the general fund or some other way of doing that. And I'd ask Ms. Tremblay to discuss that a little bit. She she's got her finger on this nationwide.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we see kind of there really is a drive for us to kind of bridge the cost gap, specifically when it comes to sustainable aviation fuel. And I think really that is kind of the aim here, is to be able to really bridge that cost gap from the like $8 to $16 that we're seeing down to kind of what's comparative to what we see for conventional jet fuel today. So if there's any follow-up I can provide there as well, please let me know.
Thank you.
Chair, may I follow?
Go ahead.
Follow up? Thank you. If this takes off and everything goes well and the state doesn't have to support it anymore, is the availability of enough fuel sources to keep this going? Because I know airliners use a lot of fuel per flight.
Yeah, the airlines, for the most part, including Southwest, is really doing, Ruben Zaragoza, Southwest Airlines. The airlines, for the most part, including Southwest, like I said, is making significant infrastructure on buying new planes. And so we are in the process of replacing all our retiring our older fleet to be able to bring new planes that are more sufficient in terms of sustainability, so they're more fuel efficient when it comes to be able to operate. That being said, the goal really is. I'm sorry. What was the question again? Sorry.
May I, Chair? Go ahead. Okay, because you were off track right away. I'm not going for, it's great that you're gonna do more efficient planes, but the actual source where you're getting this to make this SAF, is there a large enough supply chain?
I think Sean Newsom could answer that.
And for the record, Tom Clark, I will say that's the goal. The goal is so that the refiners here in Nevada produce the jobs, produce the SAF and the biodiesel and different mixes of fuels that they are looking at producing. And I hope that we have some testimony from those refiners. I believe there was a letter uploaded from Edgewood in support. So today, maybe not. Tomorrow, we sure hope so, because we do know from an economic development perspective that these types of programs have helped other industries really grow. And we see this pilot program as a way to demonstrate to the market that we're in business.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. So Sean Newsom for Airlines for America. So it's a great question, and thank you for that question. It's been studied quite a lot about whether there is sufficient feedstock and sufficient production capacity available over the long term, or can be available over the long term. And I would point you first to, in terms of feedstock, to a Department of Energy study that they refer to as the billion-ton report, which identifies all of the potential feedstocks that could go to making SAF and other renewable fuels over the long term. And they concluded that there is enough potential feedstock available to support not just the demands for the aviation industry, but all of the liquid fuels requirement over the next 30 years or so. So the question is not whether there's enough potential supply base, it's getting the economics and the market in place to utilize that, and then allowing the production capacity to be built over the coming decades to meet the demands of not just aviation, but road transport and marine and other sectors as well.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation. We'll now move to testimony in support of Assembly Bill 481. If anyone would like to provide testimony in support, either in Carson City or in Las Vegas, please come forward. Whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nick Schneider, Director of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. We're here in support of the policy behind AB 481. We particularly appreciate the efforts to encourage sustainable aviation fuel use, particularly through the incentivization route. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, and members of the committee. For the record, Jennifer Berthiaume, that's Berthiaume, Government Affairs Manager at the Nevada Association of Counties, or NACO, whose members represent all 17 counties. Our members support the creation of the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Incentive Fund and Program by providing incentives for the purchase of sustainable aviation fuel, especially the increased incentive for fuel produced within Nevada. This program creates an opportunity to eventually attract more carriers and flights, especially to our rural airports. AB 481 is not only a smart investment in sustainability, but also in infrastructure and economic development. For these reasons, NACO supports AB 481. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nobody in Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony in support of AB 481 by phone?
Testify in support of Assembly Bill 481, please press *9 or raise hand in your Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support testimony.
Thank you. We'll now move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 481. If anyone would like to provide testimony in opposition, either in Carson City or Las Vegas, please come forward. Seeing none, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony in opposition to AB 481 by phone?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 481, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers to testify in opposition.
Thank you. Finally, we'll go to testimony in neutral on Assembly Bill 481. Looks like we have one person in Las Vegas. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, and members of the committee. My name is Deanna Coleman, DEANNACOLEMAN, and I'm the Sustainability Analyst at Allegiant Air. I'm here today in neutral to share our perspective on Assembly Bill 481 and SAF's role in the future of Nevada's energy and transportation landscape. Proudly headquartered in Las Vegas, we currently offer 55 non-stop routes to Harry Reid International Airport, flying over 2 million passengers in the past year with an average fare of $66. Due to our point-to-point and leisure-focused model, these passengers are staying and spending their money in Nevada and not connecting elsewhere. Now on to the SAF. First, many states are recognizing the transformative opportunities that supporting SAF can bring to the transportation and tourism industries and their economies, all while driving innovation, job creation, and environmental stewardship. Second, supporting SAF creation, blending, and use in Nevada aligns the state with its decarbonization targets and broader transportation strategy. Third, SAF is a scalable solution that integrates into Nevada's existing fuel distribution and transportation network and allows domestic and international airlines to continue making the state a destination in the face of mounting regulatory and industry pressure to decarbonize. Ultimately, SAF is the only existing and substantial pathway to decarbonizing the aviation industry. However, its widespread adoption in Nevada requires a thoughtful policy framework that addresses the operational realities of production scalability, infrastructure, and cost parity with conventional jet fuel. On behalf of Allegiant, we would like to thank the legislature for considering SAF as a viable solution and opening the dialogue on this topic. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Good to see you again. Good job. Seeing no one else in Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to provide neutral testimony on AB 481 by phone?
To testify neutral to Assembly Bill 481, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers to testify in neutral.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to keep things moving. So I'm just going to close the hearing on Assembly Bill 481. And I'm going to open the hearing on Assembly Bill 493, which revises provisions relating to the collection, disposal, and retirement of certain types of waste. While folks are getting set up, we do have two aspects to this bill and two different presenters. So I believe we have somebody who's going to be joining us from the Solar Energy Industries Association, who I have asked to speak to the portions of the bill relating to recycling for solar panels. And then we also have a representative from Western Resource Advocates who will talk about the battery recycling portion of the bill. So I think we should start with the photovoltaic panel. So whenever you're ready, please introduce yourself for the record and you can begin.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, and members of the committee. My name is Evelyn Butler, EVELYN BUTLER, and I'm the Vice President of Technical Services for the Solar Energy Industries Association. We are the national trade association in the United States for the last 50 years and represent companies and organizations that include manufacturers, installers, project owners, and third-party owners who lease systems of solar. We operate the nation's only solar recycling partner program. working with over a dozen recyclers throughout the United States to develop and deliver reuse and recycling services for our technology. I'm here to present and review the solar portion of SB 493, which addresses collection, disposal, and retirement of certain types of solar waste. If I could call your attention to sections 33, 37, and 38 of the bill, those pertain to solar specifically. I'd like to draw your attention to an amendment that has been submitted to Nellis regarding some technical changes to the bill as well. As we see the deployment of solar energy growing nationally, we also see the necessity to manage the equipment at decommissioning responsibly, favoring reuse and recycling. At a high level, the bill seeks to improve the state's current decommissioning management of solar panels, focusing specifically on utility-scale solar and third-party owned residential solar systems, which are leased to the end customer. Please note that this bill does not impose requirements to create disposal plans on individual homeowners who have elected to own their solar panel systems outright. The bill revises the decommissioning plan requirements for utility-scale solar projects, requiring first a plan on the deconstruction of the site, including plans for reuse and recycling of the equipment, the percentage rate of the material recovery of any solar panels that will be recycled must be equal to 90% or greater by weight, and lastly, a plan to return the land to a substantially similar state as before the construction of the project. For owners of leased distributed generation systems or those from which consumers purchase the electricity, they will be also required to file disposal plans with the Department of Environmental Protection and will have similar responsibilities outlined in their plan, including how decommissioning or deconstruction of the system will be conducted. That also includes plans for reuse or recycling of the equipment. The percentage rate of the material recovery of any solar panels that are recycled must also be 90% or greater by weight. Combined, the PV recycling and decommissioning portions of the bill will help ensure sustainability and responsible management of solar development across the state. Thank you again for your consideration, and now we'll turn it over to Aaron from WRA to discuss the storage section.
Thank you, and good afternoon, members of the Growth and Infrastructure Committee. My name is Aaron Kressig, and I lead Western Resource Advocates Transportation Electrification Program. Today I'm here to talk about AB 493, specifically the provisions related to creating a policy framework to promote responsible management of EV batteries. So let's talk a little bit more about what this bill does. The bill explicitly prohibits EV batteries from being disposed in landfills and ensures proper management by designating a responsible party for handling EV batteries when they are removed from their original vehicle. AB 493 promotes reuse, repurposing, remanufacturing of those batteries, which will create economic benefits for auto wreckers and vehicle manufacturers. And when batteries finally reach the point when they must be recycled, the bill will ensure they are recycled according to industry best practices, many of which were pioneered and employed right here in Nevada. So why is all of this important? AB 493's EV battery provisions would cement Nevada's position as a leader in the battery recycling space, a crucial component of the lithium loop. It will show Nevada is not just leading by developing innovative recycling practices and becoming a hub for advanced battery recyclers, but also leading with innovative state policy. While there are several ongoing efforts across the country to advance state-based policy in EV battery recycling, only one state, New Jersey, has actually passed legislation related to EV battery recycling. And the Nevada framework in AB 493 represents significant vetting that has gone on over the last half year with the auto wreckers, vehicle manufacturers, and battery recyclers. AB 493 represents a compromise between each of these parties' interests while ensuring the framework supports their business model and remains effective in ensuring the creation of a circular economy for EV batteries. So who will benefit from this legislation? Numerous stakeholders would benefit from the circular EV battery economy created by AB 493. Automakers would get more relinquished batteries directly back to them for remanufacturing or reuse. Batteries that are reused, remanufactured, or composed of recycled materials are eligible for the 30D Clean Vehicle Tax Credit, giving automakers a clear long-term benefit for promoting reuse, remanufacturing, and recycling. Advanced battery recyclers will benefit from being the entities on point for handling EV batteries when they need to be recycled. While EVs do not yet make up the majority of battery recyclers' feedstock, make no mistake, the future of battery recycling is in electric vehicle batteries, with the majority of recyclers' feedstock being projected to be from EV batteries in the decades to come. This legislation puts Nevada's advanced battery recyclers in the driver's seat to receive the EV batteries, which will be coming offline in the future. Secondary handlers like auto wreckers will benefit as the bill gives them the ability to take economic advantage by selling those EV batteries on the market for secondary use, but also allows them the flexibility to relinquish the battery back to vehicle manufacturers if they prefer not to handle the EV battery. This will help to accommodate the wide diversity of business models employed by secondary handlers. Finally, of course, the environment will benefit from this legislation. It ensures no EV batteries are being wasted, that valuable critical minerals are being recovered at the highest possible rates, and that recyclers who employ the most environmentally friendly practices are the ones managing the EV batteries. All of these components make AB 493 a win-win. Recycling is synonymous with good environmental outcomes, and in Nevada, it is also synonymous with economic development. AB 493 will promote both the environment and the Nevada economy, and we urge you to vote yes on AB 493. We appreciate the committee's hearing this bill, Chair Watt's leadership on this important issue, and all the stakeholders who have engaged with us over the last several months, who we look forward to have continued discussions with to ensure we get this important policy right. Thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. We do have some questions. We'll start with Assemblymember Nguyen.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm reading through this very short amendment document here. It's only 20 pages, that's all. But looking at the penalties on page 11, and again, if you can help me understand, in terms of the industry itself, the recycling and disposable options are pretty much understood in terms of what to do, right? So the industry is not new to this. So this is completely, it's been out there. So I see that, you know, a person who violates the provision is guilty of a misdemeanor, and then the fine is not less than $100 per violation. Is that going far enough to address if there's a problem? Because I think $100, people's like, well, you know, I can just dump this over here, and you know, the consequences are not kind of comparable to the damage it could cause if they didn't do it correctly. So I don't know if you can help me understand that on page 11.
Yes, thank you, Assemblymember. And this is Aaron Kressig from Western Resource Advocates, for the record. So the penalties that are in the bill, this was worked with the bill drafter, and I think these are standard civil penalties. So I think these reflect. I think that's what these reflect. Your point is understood. That perhaps that is not a sufficient penalty for the violation, but I think that's what the existing Nevada rules have, so I think that's what they put in place. We haven't gotten much feedback on this particular issue, but it's a good point, so thank you for that.
Quick follow-up, Chair. So, and thank you for pointing that out, and I may want to encourage you to look at perhaps educating the provision of what you're trying to do in terms of the seriousness of not doing this properly, right? I mean, I don't know why the language is in there if it's just, you know, to me, that $100 is kind of like, oh, well, nice to have, but why do we need it in there if it doesn't really educate the folks in the industry and even the consumers to do the right thing? So I just want to kind of give that feedback, and if we can figure out how to truly educate on the environmental aspects as well as the everyday business on how to truly handle these things so that we're not just trying to solve the big problem, but let the little problem accumulate. And so the understanding of what it means to truly, do the right thing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, additional questions for the presenters? Okay, seeing none. Thank you both for the presentation. We'll now move to testimony in support of Assembly Bill 493. Anyone who would like to provide testimony in support, either here in Carson City or down in Las Vegas, please come forward. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager, Director of the Sierra Club's Toyabe chapter. For the record, I'm here in strong support of this bill. My organization has worked with a lot of directly impacted communities who are impacted by mining, and so we really support this bill in that it can alleviate some of the pressure that some of our frontline communities face from mining and make sure that we're being more sustainable in what we're extracting from Nevada and then what's going into our vehicles here in Nevada. So we believe that this is a common sense measure that really needs to be taken, and especially given where Nevada is at on the front lines of a lot of the mining boom, especially as we transition into electrifying more vehicles, we are in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Christy Cabrera-Georgeson, Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League. We are also here in support. As you heard, this can help with economic growth in our state, make sure that we are closing that loop, especially when it comes to electric vehicles, and encourage environmental sustainability. We urge the committee support. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. My name is Caitlin Gachanyan. I serve as the Nevada representative for Southwest Energy Efficiency Project, or SWEEP for short, and I'm here in strong support of AB 493, a policy that would promote electric vehicle battery recycling and second life application. With Nevada leading the nation in clean energy innovation, investing in a circular economy for EV batteries is a critical step forward, reducing emissions, strengthening our local economy, and securing our domestic supply chain. So I urge your support for AB 493. And thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing nobody else coming forward here in Carson City, seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony in support of AB 493 by phone?
To testify in support for Assembly Bill 493, please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support at this time.
Thank you. We'll now move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 493. Anyone who would like to provide testimony in opposition here in Carson City or down in Las Vegas, please come forward. Don't worry, other people are getting on Mr. Hardy.
Like, the heck?
Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Warren Hardy, representing Nevada Pick Apart at SA Recycling and Champion Recycling today. I'm here in opposition under the rules of the committee. We have spent a lot of time working with Western Resource Advocates. We appreciate their willingness to look into the concerns that we've had with this bill, which mostly reside around the reporting requirements and duplications of effort. I will advise the chair that there's one thing that needs to be carefully considered. I think for the most part, I know all of my clients that operate in this space are doing exactly what this bill contemplates, and that is taking these batteries, removing them from the vehicle and sending them to a processor. We don't process them on our own. We certainly don't take them to the landfills. However, I will say that these vehicles are not always the best in terms of economic return. And so if we overburden the industry, I'll tell you that our response will be to just stop taking these vehicles, and then they will likely end up in the landfill or in the desert. However, what the proponents of this bill have done a great job working with us. We are we believe we're there. We just need to see the final version of the amendment from LCB and can probably switch to support because there are a lot of very good components in this bill as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Andy McKay, I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchise Auto Dealers Association. Again, for the trade association that represents all the car, light truck, and heavy-duty truck dealers across the state, and all those sectors, as the committee is aware of, is part of the burgeoning electrification of our industry. We're in opposition to this bill, but let me briefly, Mr. Chair, I do want to thank the proponents of the bill. They did listen to some of our concerns. They deserve credit for that. And I'm speaking to the draft amendment in clarifying the language with respect to a battery provider, and that does not apply to a franchise dealer. Our opposition on this really, similar to what Mr. Hardy indicated, falls within the reporting requirements. If you look in there in the amended language, or the language, excuse me, and then the amended language when the penalty aspect, we're already doing a lot of that. And quite honestly, we have a pretty heavy regulatory burden already on our businesses with respect to ensuring, and I want to be very clear, there is no place for a propulsion battery to be dumped into a landfill. I don't think anybody would agree with it. If they do, then they need to have their sanity checked. But that being said, this is just what we believe is something that is already being captured already. They're not going to end up in the landfill, certainly not from us doing warranty and recall repairs on behalf of our manufacturer dealers. And we just think the reporting component is just frankly too onerous. But again, I want to be very clear that the bill proponents have been great to work with. They listen, and I got to give them a lot of credit for that and thank them for that. So, Mr. Chairman, great seeing you all in the committee. You guys have had a long day, and so I'll get off the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Tatro, for the record, with Redwood Materials, Nevada company. While we agree with the spirit of this legislation, being one of the leaders in battery recycling, unfortunately, we have to oppose this bill as written. We're committed to working with the chair and the stakeholders, WRA. They've been great, and we will continue to work with them as it finds its way through the process. Our main concern is the unintended consequences to the battery supply chain, to Nevada's lithium loop, and we want to ensure, as with the spirit of this legislation, a circular life cycle for these batteries. That's the ethos and the founding of our company and what we're setting out to do. So hope to continue to work with the sponsor and stakeholders to improve the legislation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Russell Rowe here on behalf of Tesla. Also, as the previous speakers indicated, in reluctant opposition to this bill, I want to first extend our sincere gratitude to the chairman for being so open and accessible in this process, working with us, the proponents as well. It's really been a good collaboration. There's a number of other factors impacting recycling, including federal EPA regulations and definitions of waste, and other CFR provisions that quickly go over my head. But suffice it to say that we do need to do some more work on this. We do hope we can find a path forward, whether it's this session or in future sessions, to make sure we close the lithium loop with respect to the recycling piece. And we do want to continue working with you, Mr. Chairman, on this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Caleb Cage, spelled C-A-G-E, with the Nevada Battery Coalition. I could just echo what was said, but I think this is an important bill. I'll provide a couple of comments here. As you know, the Nevada Battery Coalition is made up of companies along the lithium supply chain in our state, including a number of manufacturers and recyclers. We are extremely grateful to Western Resource Advocates, and they're bringing us into the discussion very early on and continuing to that. We're also grateful to you, Chair Watts, for your leadership on this very important topic and carrying it forward. I think my colleague from Tesla said it right, very reluctant opposition here. They're, while we're grateful for the collaboration and the work, including yesterday on the call, there's still a number of unknowns and uncertainties associated with this, particularly with respect to the implementation. With that reluctant opposition, I'll add that we'll continue to work with stakeholders and try to find a way forward, and you have our commitment on that, and we very much support the spirit of what this is trying to do and help Nevada remain in first place in the nation. So thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Cage. Seeing no one else coming forward in Carson City, seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, can we check to see if we have any more glowing opposition on Assembly Bill 493 by phone?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 493, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue or raise your hand in the Zoom window. Caller with the last 3 digits, 796, you are unmuted and you may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and members of the committee. My name is Catalina Gel Pareja and I represent LKQ Corporation. LKQ is a global leading auto recycler and provider of aftermarket recycled remanufactured and specialty auto parts with 3 facilities in Nevada. We appreciate the opportunity to testify neutral in AB 493 as originally introduced. However, LKQ is in strong opposition to the proposed amendment submitted by Western Resource Advocates. We consider those amendments as unfriendly, targeting secondary handlers as LKQ. We would like to clarify that this language is not an agreed upon language by all segments of the industry. LKQ, as the largest auto recycler, was not consulted during the initial stakeholder process, and all of our concerns that we have raised directly to WRA and other members have not been addressed so far. We would like to make sure that the Nevada Assembly is aware that this bill has been already presented this legislative session in New Mexico and Washington State. And this bill has been already tabled and died without further consideration due to ongoing concerns raised by all segments of the industry. We respectfully ask you to reject WRA's amendment that will surely draw opposition to a bill that, as introduced, is taking a neutral approach worth considering. LKQ's concerns are related to the transfer of responsibility from the original equipment manufacturer to recycling entities. We truly believe that this is not the intent of an extended producer responsibility program, and we are asking that this bill does not adopt any language that would punish recycling entities and would favor the original producers. LKQ supports efforts to prioritize the recovery, reuse, repair, remanufacture, and recycle of all vehicle batteries at the end of their useful life, but such efforts should not transfer responsibility to recycling entities. Instead, those EPR efforts should hold the original manufacturers responsible. WR's amendment should not shift responsibility away from the OEMs and downstream to more environmentally friendly.
Thank you. And ma'am, if you could begin to wrap up your remarks, and also could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My first name, Catalina, last name, Pareja, Pareja, and I represent LKQ Corporation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, this is John Hatter. Can the committee hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is John Hatter. I'm representing Great Basin Resource Watch, nonprofit here in Nevada. Great Basin Resource Watch does see the need for regulations regarding recycling and really supports the concept of AB 493. So we also are reluctant in our opposition, but we see significant deficiencies in the bill text as it is currently drafted. I'd like to express my appreciation to Assemblyman Watts, who has taken time to discuss the bill with me, and discussions with Western Resource Advocates as well, have ongoing discussions, and we hope that this can continue. At the top of the list of some of the concerns is the fact it doesn't close the door to dirty recycling. There is no definition for recycling or smelting, and specialized battery recyclers could use smelting so long as it's not a primary method of recycling. So smelting involves high temperature thermal processes and often the release of toxins, but this is unknown without a definition. Close the door. Battery recycling should not include combustion, incineration, smelting, energy production, fuel production, except for anaerobic digestion or source separated organic materials and other forms of disposal. Also, there is no section on battery safety, and so the following should address battery fires, establish conditions for safe storage, handling, emergency responder training, and cleanup protocols. Also, worker awareness training, safety trainings on battery handling materials and recycling hazards that would be developed by third-party specialists and regulatory agencies such as OSHA in conjunction with battery handlers and battery recyclers. GBRW we also call for a very robust rulemaking process as this proceeds. Nevada law does provide for at least one public workshop, but due to the lack of detail in AB 393, the rulemaking agency should facilitate multiple meetings at different times and locations to ensure diverse public participation. One other thing I'll mention is that the bill also should have robust reporting requirements for battery recyclers, including recovery rates, tonnage of material sent to landfill, recycled feedback, end use market and worker injury protections. Also send copies of OSHA 300 logs as well as worker training. I have provided a list of amendments to the committee as well as Assemblyman Watts and Western Resource Advocates, and I hope this bill can be amended to strengthen protections for workers, communities, and the environment. I thank you very much for your time and appreciate this bill being introduced. Thank you.
If you have recently joined and would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 493, please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no more callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. We'll now move to testimony in neutral on Assembly Bill 493. Please go ahead and whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and members of the committee. I am Jeffrey Kinder, Deputy Administrator with the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection. NDEP is neutral on AB 493. I want to acknowledge the conceptual amendments that are now listed in Nellis. However, we have not had the chance to thoroughly review those amendments, so our testimony today will be as introduced. NDEP appreciates the legislative intent language in the bill promoting reuse, repair, repurpose, or remanufacture of propulsion batteries, including the clarifying language preventing disposal of propulsion batteries in a municipal solid waste landfill, as sustainability is one of the goals of the division. We also appreciate the bill's requirement to plan for the disposal of a distributed generating system or solar panels at the end of their useful life to promote their potential reuse and recycling. When a propulsion battery or solar panel is considered discarded, as defined under federal regulations and as adopted by reference in Nevada, the item becomes a solid waste regulated under NRS 444 and potentially a hazardous waste regulated under NRS 459. A solar panel may or may not be a hazardous waste once discarded, depending on its components and manufacture. However, a lithium-ion battery once discarded would be a hazardous waste per EPA's current determination. NDEP is regulating the battery management industry under NRS 459. However, including the reuse, repair, repurpose, or remanufacture of propulsion battery in NRS 444 would expand NDEP's current regulated universe and responsibilities pertaining to solid and hazardous waste management by pushing our point of regulatory involvement. The entities established by the bill, including battery providers, secondary handlers, and secondary users, would be regulated as solid waste and potentially hazardous waste management facilities. A few other comments from the bill as introduced include, first, the regulation of a new entity defined as a specialized battery recycler under the NRS 444 would conflict with current federal determination regarding discarded lithium-ion batteries. Second, the term vehicle within the definition of propulsion battery does not define the type of propulsion batteries to be regulated. And finally, there's a potential conflict with the federal regulations for the proposed definition of spent.
For the bill language introduced pertaining to solar panels, it is unclear the intent to regulate discarded solar panels in NRS 445C, as discarded solar panels would be a solid waste under NRS 444, and as I previously mentioned, potentially a hazardous waste under NRS 459. NDEP appreciates the outreach from the bill proponents and looks forward to continued discussion on any proposed conceptual amendments. Happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you, Mr. Kinder. Members, any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you. Seeing no one else in Carson City, seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to provide neutral testimony on AB 493 by phone?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 493, please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you. With that, I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 493 and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 528, which revises provisions relating to property tax abatements for certain buildings and structures which meet certain energy efficiency standards. Welcome. Go ahead and get situated. Whenever you're ready, please remember to introduce yourself for the record, and you can begin.
There we go. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Jennifer Gunby. Last name is G-U and is in Nancy, B as in boy, Y. I'm Associate Director for State and Local Advocacy at U.S. Green Building Council, or USGBC. If you're not familiar with USGBC, we're a nonprofit organization dedicated to transforming the way buildings and communities are designed, built, and operated. We're both best known for our flagship rating system, LEED, or Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, which is a nationally recognized standard that takes a holistic approach to whole building performance and the world's most widely used green building rating system. I'm happy to join you today to summarize AB 528, which we call the Resilient Building Tax Abatement, share its origins, and review a couple of red lines that have been requested. In short, AB 528, or the Resilient Building Tax Abatement, provides an overhaul to a previous program you may be familiar with, the Green Building Tax Abatement, which was halted in 2021. The Resilient Building Tax Abatement would reinstate a voluntary incentive for new construction and existing buildings, which are now certifying to a resilient building standard. This approach is a substantively elevated compliance metric compared to that Green Building Tax Abatement. The Resilient Building Tax Abatement also includes new guardrails to help ensure the state is getting the ROI for the tax abatement that it wanted. I'd like to first give you a brief history of the Green Building Tax Abatement as it's related to this bill. That was launched in 2007 and then underwent several updates over the years. While initially a helpful tool to increase green buildings in Nevada and deliver improved energy efficiency as intended, the program did not keep up with the changing needs of the state. By 2021, it was found that many benefiting buildings were merely meeting code and were not achieving the intended green building outcomes. When halted in 2021, there would be no new abatements provided, though buildings already in the program would continue to receive the abatements awarded. USGBC went to work meeting with the Governor's Office of Energy, as well as legislators and large property owners across the state to understand the concerns of the state, the evolving needs of the state, and the needs of the built environment in Nevada. We found that there is still a lot to be gained by increasing resource efficiency and pushing buildings to perform above code, but to get the most out of a multiplier effect of a tax abatement, the state should go beyond green and push the infrastructure to be more resilient, which would deliver additional economic gain for the state's investment. The added benefit of a more resilient built environment is that the returns are not just contingent on there being extreme weather events. Importantly, when floods, drought, wildfire, extreme heat, etc., the list is unfortunately long, do occur, resilient buildings have an improved ability to protect the building occupants. They're able to operate safely during that event and then return to business as usual faster, which is of real economic value in Nevada. Hopefully, no extreme events occur, But even then, the state still benefits. A more resilient building provides lower operational cost, which results in energy and water conservation. It improves occupant comfort and employee satisfaction, benefiting both the Nevada residents and the experience of visitors. So let me dive into the details of AB 528 a little bit. The proposed resilient building tax abatement is built upon the lessons learned from the green building tax abatement and is aligned with the needs of the state, with some future proofing to help protect the state's investment and better adapt the tool in the coming years. It will help protect the state's natural resources while simultaneously spurring redevelopment and attracting new development. The resilient building tax abatement is a voluntary incentive program. It's a tiered income tax abatement using LEED Silver or higher certification, plus a LEED resilient pathway for compliance. I'll share more on that part of the bill in just a moment. I first wanted to highlight a few of the additional elements that are new to this bill. One is parking, often an essential component of the built environment that comes with its own impacts to the community. The resilient building tax abatement includes a requirement for connected parking to certify to sites or Park Smart. To ensure we address the issues raised in the 2021 report on the green building tax abatement, the resilient building tax abatement requires the benefiting buildings to achieve a minimum reduction in energy use or for existing buildings to meet or exceed the current energy code. Projects receiving the abatement must benchmark and report their annual energy and water consumption, sharing that information with the Governor's Office of Energy so that GOE has the data to monitor the program. For new construction projects who want to receive the full 10 years of the abatement, there's now a recertification requirement. So benefiting projects must maintain the performance level that they committed to in receiving the abatement. For existing buildings, efficiency improvements are tied to the federal 179D pathway to align requirements and streamline the documentation. The director may specify additional credits to be achieved, allowing the program to more easily evolve alongside the state's needs. And the resilient building tax abatement has added a zero carbon tier to help push buildings farther in support of Nevada's goal of achieving zero emissions by 2050. The resilient building tax abatement now includes provisions for state and local government-owned buildings who would otherwise qualify for the abatement to assign that abatement to another building in the same county in exchange for compensation, allowing those state and local government to benefit as well. Central to the resilient building tax abatement is that LEED resilience pathway I mentioned, so let me share more on that. If you're not familiar with LEED, it is a third-party certification providing independent verification of a building's performance. It ensures minimum performance across prerequisite credits with additional points for additional credits across a range of building categories. The volume of total points earned above those prerequisites determine a level of certification, certified, silver, gold, or platinum. LEED V5 is the latest version of this industry, losing my place in my notes here, of this industry-driven rating system. LEED V5 includes a core requirement, one of those prerequisites for all projects to develop a detailed resilience assessment. This is a comprehensive assessment of observed current and projected future natural and climate hazards, aiming to increase the transparency of risk, reduce the vulnerabilities, and ensure long-term safety and sustainability. The hazards to be considered in a resilience assessment include flooding, high winds, wildfire, drought, landslides and unstable soil, extreme heat, winter storms, earthquake, and more. LEED then helps project teams design for these hazards through resilience credits, informed by the risk and vulnerabilities identified in the resilience assessment. This includes strategies and plans for maintaining operations during disruptive events, accounting for the needs of building occupants during adverse events, assuring their safety, along with sustaining business continuity. For the LEED resilience pathway, which is the requirement in the proposed resilient building tax abatement, the hazards identified in this resilience assessment as high risk must implement strategies for hardening and preparedness through the relevant credits. For example, a project where flooding is identified as high risk, practices such as elevating critical utilities and floodproofing are specified. Next, I'd like to take just a moment to outline the red lines you saw in this bill. It's mostly cleaning up a few items that did not translate from the concept paper into the first draft, but the two changes I wanted to highlight. One is edits made to the tier for projects that previously received the green building tax abatement, increasing the abatement amount they would be eligible for. It also clarified that the certain resilience credits that was named is that LEED resilience pathway that I described. In closing, to highlight a few of the key benefits, This resilient building tax abatement will help support Nevada's goal of achieving zero emissions by 2050 and protect natural resources. It does so with a collaboration with industry, increasing private sector investments in the built environment, attracting new economic developments to the state. And I believe I can address questions next if you have any.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. Gunby. Members, any questions? All right, I think you did a great job, but we are also on our fourth bill hearing. So, seeing no questions, you can go ahead and step back. We appreciate the presentation. We'll now move to testimony. We'll begin with testimony in support of Assembly Bill 528. Anyone who would like to provide testimony in support, either in Carson City or Las Vegas, please come forward. Welcome back. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you again, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Christy Cabrera-Georgeson, Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League. We are here in support of this bill. Buildings are a significant source of greenhouse gas emissions in our state, and they are actually projected to increase, not decrease. And so we believe this is an important tool to help us fully address that sector, make sure that we are building our buildings more efficiently. So we urge the committee's support. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. My name is Caitlin Gutchinyan, and I'm the Nevada representative for Southwest Energy Efficiency Project. Just three things that we like about the bill: improved energy performance standards, resilient credits, and the recognition of the national best practice such as LEED sites and Park Smart. So we appreciate your support in this bill. Thank you.
Thank you again, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager, Director of the Sierra Club's Toyabe chapter. We are also in strong support of this bill. My organization has worked to update building codes in Northern Nevada and Southern Nevada. It is a very sticky issue, and it is very difficult to figure out good incentives to get folks to build efficiently. As you just heard, buildings are a significant source of carbon emissions in our state, and so we do need to be decarbonizing, making sure that we are being more energy efficient in the way that we're building, and we believe this bill is a good tool to do just that. So thank you, and we urge your support.
Thank you very much. Seeing no one else coming forward in Carson City, seeing no one coming forward in Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 528 by phone?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 528, please press *9 or raise hand in your Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in support.
Thank you. We'll now move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 528. Anyone wishing to provide opposition testimony? Seeing no one coming forward, AVH, would anyone like to provide opposition testimony by phone?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 528, please press *9 or raise hand in your Zoom window to take your place in the queue.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Please be sure to state and spell your name for the record, and you can begin.
All right, hang on a second. Let me just unmute my. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, Chairman Watts, members of the Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. I'm Kelly Thomas. I'm here as a private citizen today. Speaking in opposition as the bill is written, but I support the concept with the right guardrails. I've got over 30 years experience in the built environment. I happen to have served as a Green Building Tax Abatement Program Manager at the Governor's Office of Energy from April 2016 to 2018. Before that, as a Community Director for the U.S. Green Building Council Nevada chapter beginning in February of 2014. As you heard, this organization reviews and improves the LEED buildings. I've also served one term in the 70th session, 1999, of the Nevada Legislature as an assemblyman representing District 16. My legislative package focused entirely around sustainable future for Nevadans, including tax incentives for certain types of sustainable development. But I'm here today to inform you of past issues around the former Green Building Tax Abatement Program. Some of those issues persist in AB 528. Unintended consequences occurred. New concerns exist as well. I submitted a 3-page testimony letter outlining all these issues along with amendment recommendations. I'll try to summarize the letter in my remaining time. Let me know if it's been exceeded. The program was sunsetted during the 2021 session in part because of a whistleblower report submitted to GOE in December of 2017 when I was a program manager. The report was submitted by a former Caesars Palace employee who had been helping process their abatement applications. It's important to note that the applications followed all laws and rules around the program. However, unintended consequences occurred. Fortunately, these issues were mostly limited to casino hotel properties on the Strip. Other off-Strip properties, such as offices, warehouse, hospital, and retail, did not see the unintended consequences. These occurred through two significant core issues which still exist in AB 528. First is free ridership. For many applications, insignificant investments in infrastructure improvement were made to attain the incentive. The incentive was millions of dollars on the Strip. But at times, only the USGBC lead fee and consultant costs were incurred. Most existing building applications were submitted by Ernst & Young, an accounting firm, not a green building consultant. Now, this is not necessarily an issue. However, applications came into GOE in mass, sometimes 20 or more at a time. They contained a lot of repetitive information relating to energy efficiency improvements made, or shall I say, the lack thereof. This suggests the process became a paperwork exercise rather than one driving real infrastructure improvement. Of course, each casino hotel application did contain a unique certificate issued by USGBC indicating the attainment of LEED, silver, gold, or platinum as required by law and rule. But as a former USGBC employee and current green building expert, Strip properties attaining these designations without doing any upgrades was and remains curious. This lack of actual work affected investment into the local economy and job creations around green buildings. Bill language on page 6, line 41 through page 7, line 8 should have applied as a backstop. However, the 30-day window on page 7, lines through 12 was too short for most municipalities to conduct a thorough review of the application and assess the associated fiscal impact. The information related to real fiscal impact came well after the application was processed. Since minimal work occurred, minimal energy savings were actually achieved. The second big issue was uncapped incentives on existing
And
buildings.
Mr. Thomas,
$100,000 cap.
I'm going to ask you to start to wrap up your remarks, please.
Great, I am right here at the end. Page 8, beginning at line 39, was not able to be implemented through the Clark County Assessor and Treasurer. The cost to Clark County was tens of millions of dollars in lost tax revenue. I'm not aware if other counties such as Washoe were able to implement this provision. So unless the assessors and treasurers across Nevada have a new tool to apply the cap, this will occur again if AB 528 is passed as written. A solution was built in, publishing a fiscal note on page line 7, 23 through 33. However, that never occurred. Line 23 should be shall, not may. I can conclude here or continue to outline other issues if you'd like.
All right, thank you very much.
Chair, we have no additional callers in opposition.
All right, thank you. We'll now move to testimony in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 528. Anyone wishing to testify neutral in Carson City or Las Vegas, please come forward. Seeing none, AVH, would anyone like to provide neutral testimony on AB 528 by phone?
Chair, we have no additional callers to provide neutral testimony.
All right, thank you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 528 and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 529, which revises provisions governing facilities for the generation of electricity from solar energy. Welcome to our presenters. Go ahead and get settled. As soon as you're ready, you can begin.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm pleased to enter my appearance this afternoon on behalf of Valley Electric Association. For the record, my name is Rose McKinney James. I'm the managing principal for Energy Works LLC and McKinney James and Associates. I am joined at the table this afternoon by Ms. Lisa Devine and Mr. Logan Gurnett. And we're here to testify in support of AB 529. But before we begin, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Chair Watts and the members of the Interim Growth and Infrastructure Committee for allowing us to present this matter to them during the interim, and more importantly, for advancing the measure as a bill draft to this legislative session. I'd like to extend apologies on behalf of the new CEO for Valley Electric, Mr. Robbie Hamlin, because of a prior commitment, a board meeting. He's unable to join us today, but I think he'll be well represented by Mr. Gurnett. If he were here, I think Mr. Hamlin would make 2 points. One, for your information, Valley Electric is in a very unique situation as a cooperative. It's the only Nevada utility that's also a member of the California ISO. And secondly, based on the conversations we've had with a variety of stakeholders, there's one focus here for Valley Electric, and that is the protection and the integrity of the service territory. So I'm pleased to introduce Lisa Levine and Logan Gurnett. I have shared on Nellis their backgrounds. Mr. Gurnett serves as the Vice President of Engineering Operations and Power Supply for Valley Electric, and Ms. Levine is the newly installed President of the Nevada Rural Electric Association. I think she's been here for a little over a month, but she is well steeped in policy and strategic issues in Nevada. And I'm going to turn to her first for her testimony, and then to Mr. Gurnett, and we are all available to stand for any questions that you may have. I do have one point of clarification, Mr. Chair. I did note that on Nellis, we did submit a map. That map was developed by Valley Electric, Ms. Latham. There was a note around some copyright infringements, but since it is proprietary to us, I don't believe that that is the case. I will let you opine on that, but I would like for the committee to see the map if possible.
Thank you, and I'll just note that for committee members, you all should have access to that. There's been a long, ongoing discussion about the availability of materials and copyright, and it's at a level above the jurisdiction of this committee. So I'll just leave that at that, and we'll let you continue with the presentation.
Chair Lisa Levine, for the record, just to add before I get into what I'm going to say, you should also have a full map of Nevada showing all of the service territory for the 10 members who I represent for NREA. So thank you. Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, and committee members, Lisa Levine for the record. On behalf of the Nevada Rural Electric Association, I'm here in strong support of Assembly Bill 529. The NRE thanks the committee under Chair Watts' leadership for bringing forward this important legislation. AB 529, also known as the Station Power Bill, will strengthen public power utilities' ability to continue to provide affordable, reliable, and resilient energy to Nevadans across the great state. The NREA represents public power entities that include 1 municipal utility, 6 rural electric cooperatives, and 3 public power districts. These are consumer-owned public power utilities that have democratically elected boards who work and live in the jurisdictions they serve. Just as a side joke, they would all pronounce Nevada correctly if they were here in front of you today. Collectively, many of the constituents who my members serve are on a fixed income, retirees and veterans, as you can imagine. And as not-for-profit public power utilities, they're proud that they collectively give back more than $3 million a year in capital credits, which serve as a refund directly to the Nevadans whom they serve. Together, they power rural communities from the northern region of the state to the southern and from the east to the west, serving a little over 127,000 Nevadans. And while I recognize this number might be a small percent of the state's population, collectively, their service territories make up close to, if not more than, half the state's geography. In addition to that, NRE members deliver power to tribal reservations, military bases, local ranches, large agricultural farms, mining operations, hundreds of small businesses, and national and state parks. Consequently, Nevada's rural utilities play a critical role in Nevada's economy and America's supply chain that feeds us, manufacturers technology that relies on natural resources, and certainly facilities that safeguard our national security. In just the 5 years between 2018 and 2022, NREA members had a shared economic impact of $1.2 billion for the state of Nevada. The NREA applauds Nevada's leadership in renewable energy, and NREA members are proud to be a part of leading the way in clean energy solutions such as solar and wind. Just to mention a few, 2 of NREA's members were awarded PACE grants under the IRA during the Biden administration to build solar projects in their territories. Both Senators Rosen and Cortez Masto secured federal funding for another NRE member to build a solar project in their territory. And the majority of NREA members use hydropower. Not just the majority of them, but the majority of the power that they sell to their members is generated from hydro, which continues to be one of the cleanest and most affordable power sources globally. And NREA members have partnered with solar and wind farms to supply the station power to those very projects. NRA members are innovative and proud to be a leader in clean energy when it supports their ability to deliver affordable, reliable, and safe power to their constituents. Across the country and in Nevada, there's a growing concern that out-of-state investor-owned corporations are using public land that they do not pay property taxes on, eating up abatements and tax credits for those projects, and then selling energy abroad to other states for a profit. In doing so, they neglect the local communities in which they benefit from. And the Station Power Bill strengthens ties between these big out-of-state corporations by ensuring that Nevada's rural electric utilities, owned and operated by Nevadans, have a seat at the table to negotiate fair and sustainable energy projects. Just as Rose said a little bit earlier, this all is meant to preserve the integrity of the service territories. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Chairman Watts, Vice Chair Carter, members of the committee. Thank you again for your time today. For the record, Logan Gurnett, Logan, last name Gernet. As Rose mentioned, I oversee electric operations for Valley Electric. We serve the rural area west of Las Vegas, up to the California border. As someone indicated, we are the only utility outside of the California ISO market that is a full member of that market. And so that's part of why we have a unique nexus here. Again, here for Valley Electric and NREA, Valley is a proud member of the Nevada Rural Electric Association. We are all pleased to be here today in support of AB 529, the Station Power Bill. This bill was recommended in the 2024 Joint Interim Standing Committee on Growth and Infrastructure to move forward to this session. And those of you who are a part of that, I want to re-express my gratitude. So thank you. The bill language, a summary of the bill, our testimony, and a conceptual amendment that we have been working with industry on are before you. We believe this bill represents a balanced approach between the interests of generation developers, utilities, and the communities who live around those generation projects. We want to ensure that energy project development in rural Nevada contributes fairly to the local communities and, importantly, protects the service territory of the rural public power utilities in those areas. The loads that we're talking about look very much like retail loads on the generation development sites. Nevada's rural areas have been very successful in attracting large generators, and that is on purpose. We have an outstanding solar resource. We have a lot of land. Much of it, as Lisa indicated, is public land. And so, that success has been apparent. Station power, as a result, the backup loads that are essentially industrial on those facilities are becoming critical to those rural communities and the economic development in those communities. I want to start with how a rural utility functions. As Lisa indicated, we're publicly owned, not for profit. We're fond of saying we're owned by those we serve. Roughly 60 years ago, rural residents in Nevada formed the co-ops and public power districts. They own us. They're on our board. They elect our board. And so, basically these nonprofit utilities operate on economies of scale. Revenue from all of the customers are spread, whether they're expensive to serve or not expensive to serve, and everybody gets the same rates. We rely on growth in those territories to help achieve that economy of scale and control rates to our membership. One of the reasons that, and that's one of the reasons that service territories exist, to achieve that scale. We spread fixed costs, and that benefits those same consumers. Investor and utilities have investors. We have the members and the loads in that service territory. And frankly, that's what keeps us existing. And that's why station power is so important to us. So what is station power? Basically, station power is the ancillary or non-core loads of the generator. It can be building loads, air conditioning loads, heating, cooling, lighting, low voltage support for the equipment that actually generates power. Typically, this is less than 2% of the facility's energy output. So it's a really relatively small portion in terms of the overall output of a 500 megawatt generator, right? You may be talking about a few megawatts of station power. And so it's small to them, but incredibly impactful to us. Essentially they are commercial and industrial-like loads. As you'll have a generator in your territory, as a rural utility, you are likely not to be the off-taker of that large generator, right? We serve these small communities, but traditionally, that local utility gets the station power and the nighttime loads of, for instance, a solar plant, and that supports the financial health of the rural utility and, to some extent, those communities. And historically, that's been the real benefit to us. And for that reason, we have supported energy development in our territories. But station power is more than really a benefit question. It represents a service territory issue for rural utilities. Energy projects can supply their own energy. They connect to the wholesale transmission grid. They actually have the option whether they want to connect to the distribution grid of the local utility. And unlike other industries, unlike every other customer, they have the ability to supply themselves from that transmission grid if they really wanted to. It's not uncommon to have a transmission line not owned by that rural utility in the rural utility service territory. And hypothetically, that generator can connect to that transmission and really not involve the local rural utility at all. An example is in Boulder City, who's another member of NREA. Recently, a compressed air energy storage project is fixing to get started in that territory. They are connecting to NVE's transmission line running through Boulder City's territory. Boulder City inquired with them and said, hey, we would love to serve your station power. They politely said, no, thank you. We're going to get that station power from the big NVE transmission line rolling right through here. And so that's one of the reasons we're concerned. And so Boulder City residents are wondering what's in it for them. And further, the service territory issue has the potential to go beyond that. If large generators can serve any loads, no matter how similar they look to commercial or industrial loads on their property, what stops them from serving a larger industrial load that just partners on the same property? No transaction has taken place. They're not selling retail energy. It's not a violation. But nevertheless, it runs counter to the spirit and the reason for service territories, and in particular, rural service territories. So hopefully that makes sense. In addition to undermining the service territory, it's an equity issue for rural consumers. Rural customers deserve to benefit from the economic development going on in their territory. This is previously a small issue, but poised to become a more major concern. To illustrate that, here we've included a map, and again, Rose was explaining this. We're hoping that this made its way into your documents. This map, excellent. This map reflects Valley service territory. We have now, some of them are so close together you really can't tell, but there's basically 40 projects in our area reflective of 1,800 megawatts in our 18,000 megawatts in our territory. Our peak load is 150. So there is 100 times the energy capacity proposed to be generated in our territory than the load reflective in that territory. Most of this, as Rose indicated, is developed to serve the California market. I'm sorry, it was Lisa who indicated that. Amargosa Valley alone, more than a dozen development projects have been interspersed between residential areas in that community. The town of Amargosa came to both Valley Electric and Nye County to say, how do we help? Nye County instituted a temporary moratorium on large-scale solar development to address those community concerns and costs. But as much of the development is on BLM public land, as Lisa also said, they do not pay property taxes in a traditional sense. You have payment in lieu of taxes which is a federal construct, and only a very small portion, and only a portion of that goes to the county that it's located in. And further, Nevada has incentives and tax abatements for these projects, kind of further reducing that local benefit. So the utilities do see this as a service territory issue, but we're also here in light of the pushback we're getting in those rural communities. We want these energy development projects to succeed, and we want them to be good loads in those rural communities and help support our electric service area. We all want economic development for Nevada. As rural utilities, we are wildly supportive of both energy projects and renewable energy development. The majority of Valley's own energy portfolio comes from solar and solar-backed energy purchases. I oversee that. The bill is absolutely not anti-solar, it's not anti-renewable, and it is not designed to impede or slow that development. It is really meant to be service territory protection for the utility and to benefit those local folks who live near the projects. Historically, large-scale energy developments have honored utility policies with respect to station power. There are a number of those contracts and rate structures already in place. And we're here today because we want to preserve that position, particularly as these proposed projects have exploded across rural Nevada. We've already seen examples of developers attempting to cut out the rural utility from serving those loads, either serving them off the wholesale transmission line that they're connected to, or attempting to self-serve them. AB 529 is a vital step in ensuring that rural public power utilities can continue to serve their communities fairly and protect the foundations of why service territories exist in the first place. As Rose indicated, we have been actively engaged with stakeholders. We've reached out to the energy development community, solar, battery storage, geothermal, mining, labor. And we also have a conceptual amendment today that is the product of that collaboration, and I'm pleased to go through that in a minute. But our goal has been to understand any concerns and, to the extent we can, offer amendments to the bill that, in a way that aligns with both the concerns of those energy project developers while also preserving the core objective of protecting rural utilities and their service areas. And we've heard some desires to be exempted. We really can't exempt folks unless there's a really compelling reason to do that. But what we've expressed to them is we have an unbelievably big desire to work with you. We are extremely willing to work with anybody that wants to work with us on this. Again, generally the loads we're talking about are less than 2% of an energy project. The impact is fundamentally de minimis, or should be fundamentally de minimis to the economics of those projects. It will not, at least on its own, reduce those projects or their overall benefit in any way, in a measurable way. And further, if those loads do exceed 2%, please talk to us, and we will work with you on an amendment that addresses those concerns. But fundamentally, station power gives local communities around these projects a reason to support them and not oppose them, like we have seen in various parts of rural Nevada. We respectfully ask the committee to support AB 529 and safeguard the service territories of rural utilities and the interests of rural consumers and communities across Nevada. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. We're pleased to answer questions, but I also am happy to walk through the conceptual amendment before you.
Thank you. Go ahead and walk us through the amendment briefly.
Sure. So I think we all have the draft from LCB. The first change that we've made in here in section 1B is really was something we heard from the energy development folks and NextEra in particular. They just felt that it was a little bit broad, and so we've made clear that the rules and rates and policies we're talking about established by that rural utility really just concern their service, concern the station power service. The second change we've made here is basically just addressing metering, how the utility would meter station service on the site of one of these large wholesale generators. Under section 2, this is the result of really collaboration between us and industry, in particular the Solar Energy Industries Association and Interwest. One of the concerns they had was that this bill would compel them to do large capital investments outside of what they were already planning to do. So if the utility had to serve this over a distribution line, are you guys going to, basically they're asking, are you guys going to make us install a big capital intensive distribution line that we otherwise wouldn't have done? And our response was, well, every other customer does have to do that, but hypothetically, no. Because you're connected to transmission, we do have other ways of serving station power, and we're willing to work with you on that. So we've added language in here that, again, is still being worked through with that, with those stakeholders. But language in here that basically says, look, we are not interested in compelling large capital investments. We really are about just serving these loads in the cheapest way we can. Okay. Please.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I believe there is one other adjustment that we wanted to make. Rose McKinney James on behalf of Valley Electric, and that is with respect to the reference that this is a solar-only bill. We initially wanted this bill to be technology agnostic, and so that's why we have done outreach to the broad range of renewable energy developers. I believe it was a drafting error, and we wanted to bring that to your attention.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now open it up to questions. We'll begin with Vice Chair Carter.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, two if he allows me, but we'll see. The first one comes up with, the utility that covers most of our state, NV Energy. Let's say that they build a renewable project in the service area of Valley Electric. Is our in-state utility required to take and purchase station power from that rural co-op?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Carter. Again, Logan Gurnett for Valley and NREA. The answer would be yes. So the stipulation to this bill is that any project that is operational after 2026 would be in it. Basically, we've tried to keep this as even-keeled and equitable and fair to everybody. We could certainly think about exempting projects that have an in-state purpose versus an out-of-state purpose, but for the most part, if it really is a principal issue and a service territory issue first and foremost. If you are building a large generation project in somebody's territory and somebody else has to live next to that project, we've had projects proposed within sight distance of people's backyards. We want that utility to be able to serve that load, and we think it's appropriate. So yes, I mean, even if the project was owned by NV Energy, that's not necessarily exempted at this moment, but it's certainly something that we could consider if that was, if we thought that was in the interest of Nevadans more broadly.
I can just add, Chair Lisa Levine for the record, Vice Chair Carter, most of my members at NREA, if not all of them in some way, are a customer of NV Energy. When you're driving around the state, if you're driving between Reno and Las Vegas, for example, you're going to see some huge transmission lines. The likelihood is NV Energy owns them, even if you're in a rural territory. And my customers, my members benefit from those transmission lines, if that makes sense. Even over the years, just in the maintenance of those transmission lines, at times, NREA members have actually been able to partner with NV Energy. Lincoln County comes to mind, for example, in providing those transmission lines back, and then NV Energy does a deal with them essentially so that they don't have to pay the transmission fees for life. Like, there's just these different ways. So I would say that NV Energy is a very good partner to NREA and to my members individually.
This is a second question, not a follow-up. Is there any calculation considered for the source of the energy that provides the station power? Meaning, if we've got a co-op that's purchasing most of its power out of Utah that's 100% coal generated, are we going to be mandating that more coal power is used to provide station power to a renewable energy plant?
So generally speaking, I'm sorry. Logan Gurnett again for Valley Electric and NREA. And thank you for the question, Assemblymember Carter. We have not gotten into what the source of the utility's power is. Every one of those public power utilities is trying to have the cheapest portfolio of energy that they can possibly have. subject to the requirements that they're subject to. Again, serving rural areas is hard, and they're trying to have low rates to their members. And, I can't, again, Valley Electric, most of our power is from purchases backed by solar. I can't speak to the portfolios of other NREA members or public power entities. But generally speaking, it is about the service territory of that entity. We could, that utility, and I'm sure would absolutely, if somebody wanted to have their station power load served 100% with renewable energy, lots of utilities have done that. They've created programs to do that, and it's just built into the rate associated. And so to your hypothetical, yes, that could theoretically happen, but again, most of the, presumably it's a bit of a tit for tat, because it's very likely that solar project being located on the edge of Nevada may or may not be, the solar isn't necessarily destined for Nevada. Most of the generators that we have seen locating in rural Nevada, the purchase power agreements for that are going to California or other states. And so even if that rural utility is serving a tiny fraction of that generator's load with station power, it is enabling a huge amount of renewables to enter the market and supply the West. And so even if that were the case, I mean, the coal's going to find its way wherever it's going to find it. But fundamentally, what we're doing here is enabling more renewables to make its way into the generation mixture of the entire West. So, I wouldn't look so hard at what one utility is selling to another utility and so forth. Overall, right, it's a service territory issue, and we're enabling more solar overall on the whole that, at least from my perspective, wipes out any possible carbon consideration of coal supplying station power.
Thank you. Members, additional questions? Assemblymember Yurick.
Thanks for the question, Chair. And mine is honestly just a question more of curiosity than anything. I was looking in section 1A that basically, if I'm reading it correctly, allows alternative power arrangements if the utility consents. But given the stated purpose of the bill, I'm just curious under what scenarios you would envision a rural electric utility might waive its right.
Great question. And thank you for the question, Assemblymember Yurick. Again, Logan Gurnett for Valley and NREA. We've been talking through a number of different scenarios with the solar development stakeholder community. That's part of the reason for this at least draft section 2. One reason they might do that is, for instance, let's say that there is a transmission line running through that co-op or public power entities, that rural utilities territory, and it's a transmission system that that local co-op doesn't have rights on. So many of the co-ops in many of the public power utilities in Nevada have transmission rights. They basically have network service arrangements with NVE. So let's say hypothetically you had a transmission line going through that territory that wasn't NVE, and a project was connecting to it. Maybe the utility really doesn't have access to get to that location. And to buy transmission from that utility, maybe it's not available or it's expensive, and so they'd rather just work out a deal that keeps everything affordable and making sense for both the project and the utility. So that would be an example of an extenuating circumstance where, at the very least, this bill brings both parties to the table to come up with something that makes sense and an equitable outcome.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? We did have 2, so people are still staying locked in on our 5th bill, so I appreciate that. All right, seeing no other questions, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
We'll now move to testimony on Assembly Bill 529. We'll start with testimony in support. Anyone wishing to provide support testimony either in Carson City or Las Vegas, please come forward. Seeing none, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony in support of AB 529 by phone?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but we have no callers for support at this time.
All right, very good. We'll now move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 529. Here in Carson City or down in Las Vegas, please come forward. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kyle Davis, today on behalf of the Interwest Energy Alliance. Interwest Energy Alliance is a regional trade association of large-scale renewable energy developers, primarily developing solar and storage projects here in Nevada. Together, our members are investing billions of dollars to develop renewable energy projects in our state. We want to first appreciate the multiple conversations that we have had with Valley Electric Association and the Nevada Rural Electric Association, and we appreciate the clarifications that this bill would apply to all energy technologies and is not intended to cover charging of batteries in a storage system. Unfortunately, we are still opposed to the amendment that is in front of the committee today. Our business is generating electricity, and a project's business model is inherently related to the cost, down to the cent, of generating each kilowatt hour of electricity. We agree that we should pay the rural co-op for much of the energy that we consume to operate our facilities in most cases, and we certainly understand and respect the concept of a service territory. Because each facility generates electricity in addition to consuming it, it is naturally more efficient to use electricity that a project generates itself to cover some of the electrical needs of the facility. We are in fact power plants. In addition, determining which electrons we should pay for and how a co-op should deliver electrons is an incredibly complex issue. Projects connect to the electricity system in a variety of different arrangements, are configured a variety of different ways from an engineering perspective, and operate on a variety of different business models. Some projects connect directly to a co-op system, but others are connected only to NV Energy. We still hope to find a solution that fairly compensates a co-op for the energy we use in a co-op service territory, while avoiding a result that would either be extremely costly to a renewable energy facility's business model, or that prohibits the industry from utilizing natural cost and energy efficiencies that could result from being able to utilize self-generated power for energy needs in certain circumstances. In the example that Assemblyman Carter gave, yes, under the provisions of this bill, there is a concept where a project could be located in a service territory that primarily receives power from coal electricity and be forced to curtail solar power in order to use coal electricity. And we don't think that that's really what we want to see in this type of legislation. Unfortunately, we are not there yet in terms of figuring out this language, even though we have spent a significant amount of time trying and commit to continue to doing so. We're happy to continue to work with VEA and NREA to find a solution, and we will continue to have these discussions and keep the committee posted on our progress. But thank you for your time today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Jessica Ferrato here today on behalf of SEIA. SEIA is the National Trade Association representing 1,200 member companies in the solar and storage industries, building a comprehensive vision for advancing these technologies. SEIA appreciates the ongoing collaboration with Valley Electric and their repetitiveness to feedback throughout this process. We've been through many emails and conversations and appreciate the work that is going into this bill. The amendment makes important distinctions between projects physically connected to the rural utilities distributive service and those remote projects that are not. Unfortunately, we are here testifying in opposition because the bill does not allow projects to utilize the power they generate on-site for station power. This is particularly concerning for projects that are not physically connected to the rural utilities service. Regardless of customer type, regarding payment to a utility for self-generated power used on site, behind the meter creates added costs and administrative burden for a service that is not being directly provided. SEIA understands and supports the bill's intent to require projects cited in rural utility service territories to purchase station power consumed from the grid from the local rural utility and would like to continue working with stakeholders on the self-supply issue. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Alfredo Alonso today on behalf of Ormat Technologies. Ormat is based in Reno, Nevada. We manufacture and build power plants. And we're a latecomer to this, unfortunately, because obviously we thought this was specific to a certain technology, and now understanding that it's agnostic, we have serious concerns. I thank the Valley folks for having conversations over the weekend, and obviously as everyone here knows, it's very difficult saying no to Rose. obviously never like to do that, but we're in a difficult position because of the amount of power used for storage power. I think you heard about 2% for some folks, for most folks. We're in the area of 15 to 17%. That includes obviously the generators, the turbines, the condensers, very power heavy. And in fact, our agreements with NV Energy do not have storage power included. We have backup power when needed. So I think it's a different animal. We're very unique. We are very ingrained in each of the communities. And in fact, we even pay net proceeds of minerals, even though we're not extracting and removing any minerals from the ground. So I think that, again, very different from any other. We've had the conversation about being removed from this bill altogether. We also understand the reason why they want to be agnostic, but at this point, we'll continue to talk, but it is probably going to be very difficult for us to get to a place that works for everybody. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing nobody else coming forward in Carson City, seeing no one else in Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to testify in opposition to AB 529 by phone?
Chair, the public lines are open and working. We have no callers for opposition.
Thank you, and now we'll now move on to neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 529. If anyone would like to testify in neutral, please come forward. Seeing none. Oh. You gotta act quick. Whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Ryan Bellows, and I serve as the Vice President of Government and External Relations at NV Energy. And here today in neutral, just with a quick concern that we believe and hope we can get worked out. We certainly understand and respect the concept of service territories. We were monitoring the hearing, and a few comments were made that just gave us pause. And so one of the definitions in the conceptual amendment is around wholesale generation facilities. And we understood that if a facility, a renewable energy facility was built and owned by NV Energy in a rural service territory, that definition would not apply, that would not qualify as a wholesale generation facility. So just want to take some time and work with the bill sponsor, who's been great to work with, and just want a few extra time before making a final decision on this bill. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you. All right. Now seeing no one else coming forward, either in Carson City or Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to testify in neutral on AB 529 by phone?
Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
All right, with that, I am going to close the hearing on Assembly Bill 529. Thank you all. That brings us to the last item on our agenda, which is public comment. Anyone wishing to provide public comment, we will ask you to limit your remarks to 2 minutes. If you would like to provide public comment here in Carson City or down in Las Vegas, please come forward. All right. Seeing no one, AVH, would anyone like to provide public comment by phone?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but we have no callers at this time.
Thank you. Members, that concludes our business for today. Our next meeting will be on Thursday, April 10th, upon adjournment of the Assembly floor session. And with that, we are adjourned.